Chapter 1239. Raging Anger. Yi Fei, it's him. He's the one from the true martial sacred academy who was abandoned by the heavens. The disciples of the two academies stared at Yi Fei in shock. No one had expected that Yi Fei would arrive in 5 days, even though Jean Polai had given him 10 days. Was he tired of living? Chen Chongqing's face turned pale. He had just said that Yi Fei wasn't worthy of fighting with Jean Polai, yet Yi Fei had immediately teleported over from behind them. If Yi Fei had wanted to launch a sneak attack, they would have suffered heavy casualties. Most importantly, they hadn't realized that the Blood Demon Sect's teleportation array was hidden under the island. You are the one with the heaven-abandoned cripple constitution? Feng Bidao crossed his arms and looked at Yi Fei provocatively. Scram! Since the other party was looking down on him, Yi Fei couldn't be bothered to talk to them. His gaze had already been attracted by the head on the sword steel. Without any hesitation, he rushed towards the sword steel. Jean Polai immediately sensed his arrival. Li Qingyi exclaimed, "That's impossible. He actually returned in 5 days, a 1-month journey. The faster he returns, the more energy he will consume. Yi Fei, I definitely won't let you escape from me this time." Jean Polai stared coldly at Yi Fei and allowed Yi Fei to rush in the direction of the sword steel. There was a large group of demons there, waiting for Yi Fei to approach. Hee, that's the kid. We won't mistake him even if he turns into ashes. It's said that this kid's head is worth 100 billion high-grade spirit stones. Whoever kills him will not only make a fortune, but they will also gain Jean Polai's friendship. What a fat sheep. The true martial sacred academy has already declined. It shouldn't be a problem even if we kill him, the demons discussed among themselves. Their gazes toward Yi Fei were filled with murderous intent and ferocious glints. Li Qingyi was even more impressed. Senior Brother Jin's methods are amazing. First, he used the disciples of the true martial sacred academy to force Yi Fei to rush over and expend a huge amount of energy. Then, he let the demons surround and test Yi Fei's strength. Then, Senior Brother Jin used an invincible stance to instantly kill the number 1 disciple on the sky list, whom the true martial sacred academy had painstakingly nurtured. This is a humiliation for the fallen sacred academy. Jin Bai stood at the top of the city wall with his arms crossed. Pride and complacency flashed across his face, but his complacency quickly turned into fury. Before the group of sinister devils could test Yi Fei, a figure wearing a ghost eye mask appeared in front of the group of sinister devils. This is not a matter of us sinister devils. Anyone who interferes will be my enemy. The evil sword saint, Zhao Qianjun. He didn't die. He came back alive. The demons, who were ready to attack, were terrified. They knew that the 2 martial emperors of the Yin Demon Sect and the Sky Demon Sect had personally led their men into the Blood Sea. In the end, Zhao Qianjun had returned and the 2 martial emperors were nowhere to be seen. No matter how greedy the demons were, they couldn't help but panic. Attack! Why don't you attack? If you attack, everyone will be rewarded with 1,000,000 spiritual stones. Li Qingyi was furious. He rushed over and urged the demons to attack. Only a few demons, who weren't afraid of death, slowly approached Yi Fei. Before they could attack, Li Qingyi suddenly felt his head fly off. He could even see his headless body in front of him. An evil man, who was wearing a ghost mask, was standing in front of his body. The evil sword saint lives up to his name. We can't afford to offend him. The demons, who had attacked, were so frightened that they trembled. Suddenly, they scrambled back. Boom! Just as Zhao Qianjun killed Li Qingyi with a single strike, Yi Fei also used a single strike to shatter the huge sword steel in the Blood Sea. Then, he took the heads of 7 people who had died with grievances. These were the heads of the disciples of the true martial sacred courtyard. Jean Bai had ordered his men to kill them and hang their heads on the sword steel. This wasn't just a provocation to him. It was an insult to the true martial sacred courtyard. Hong Yu, save these heads. Then, I will personally kill Jin Po-bai to pay tribute to their souls. Yi Fei raised his head and looked at Jin Po-bai, who was on the city wall. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Yi Fei, Zhao Qianjun, how dare you? Jin Po-bai finally recovered from the shock of Li Qingyi's death. After that, he flew into a rage. After all, this was a trap that he had specially set up to deal with Yi Fei. In the end, before the battle could even begin, his right-hand man had actually been killed by a single sword strike? In his rage, a huge deity appeared on Jin Po-bai's body. Then, he was like an enraged deity. He slashed at Yi Fei furiously with his huge axe. Divine martial technique, uncanny workmanship. Jin Po-bai actually used two ultimate techniques at the same time. This kid might have the potential to fight for the position of saint. Chen Changkong's eyes shone brightly. He was extremely shocked. I hope that abandoned martial technique can last longer. It will let us see how much Jin Po-bai has improved. Feng Bidao's eyes shone brightly as he watched Jin Po-bai's every move. As for Yi Fei, Feng Bidao ignored him. In the sky above the Blood Sea sect, the sky was falling apart. The furious Jin Po-bai had transformed into an axe-wielding god. He slashed forward, destroying the void. Many people could only see a blazing axe light engulfing Yi Fei in an instant. Only a few people saw a purple-gold figure in the light engulfed by the axe light. He walked forward step by step. The huge purple-gold Tai Chi wrapped around Yi Fei, blocking Jin Po-bai's divine martial technique and uncanny workmanship that he had been preparing for a long time. The ultimate techniques of the Divine Martial Academy are only SOSO. Yi Fei shook his head. Suddenly, he took a deep breath. Extremely fierce sword light exploded from his body. The sword shook the void. Tai Chi illuminated the world. Under Yi Fei's sword light, the blazing axe light became dim and lost its splendor. Only a purplish-gold Taiji sword diagram slashed at the god in front of it like a scorching sun. Impossible. It's only been a year. How can you improve so much? Jin Po-bai was shocked. A year ago, Yi Fei had been chased away by him. A year later, Yi Fei could block the combined attack of his two ultimate techniques? Damn it. It must be that ancient temple that allowed him to improve so much. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to vent my anger. 9th Battle of the Divine Martial Academy. Jin Po-bai roared to the sky. He completely merged with the giant deity. There was no longer Jin Po-bai in the sky. There was only a crazy war deity with a battle axe in his hand, attacking Yi Fei crazily. Boom! Jin Po-bai's battle axe was extremely terrifying. When the axe fell, it was like a deity roaring. The huge axe light created a 1,000-meter-tall wave of blood in the blood ocean. In front of the wave, Yi Fei suddenly put away the devouring soul sword. The purple-gold Tai Chi also dimmed its light. Then, 8 huge glazed heavenly dragons roared and danced in the sky. Chapter 1240. Domain Suppression Buddhist Mystical Power, 8 Notes of the Heavenly Dragon. As soon as the 8 notes of the Heavenly Dragon appeared, the boiling blood sea seemed to be suppressed by a mysterious force. The blood waves disappeared and the Heavenly Dragon roared furiously. Even the most ferocious demons felt terrified, as if they were about to be destroyed by the Heavenly Dragon. This was the Buddhist Golden Body. Obviously, the 8 notes of the Heavenly Dragon was also a consummate technique, comparable to the descent of divine martial and the uncanny workmanship. Is this the martial technique you obtained from the ancient temple? Damn it, it should belong to me. It shouldn't belong to a piece of trash like you. Jin Po-bai was infuriated, and the speed at which the god swung his axe became even faster. It was no longer a simple chop, but some kind of valiant martial art move. It was wide open and could split open heaven and earth. This kind of martial technique didn't belong to a human, it was a mystical power that only divine demons could use. Divine Demon Martial Technique. Battle of the 9 Divine Martial Techniques. Under Jin Pabai's control, the 9 axes created 9 golden storms and arrived in front of Yi Fei in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Yi Fei only smiled coldly. He opened his mouth, and the 8 notes of the heavenly dragon shook the heavens and earth. 8 notes of the heavenly dragon roared together and charged forward like meteors. Yi Fei's heart skipped a beat. He used his telekinesis to control the golden body and turn the 8 notes of the heavenly dragon into 8 majestic golden sword dragons. The dragon claws extended and a sword light burst out. The dragon roared and a river of swords surged out. At this moment, Yi Fei turned the 8 notes of the heavenly dragon into 8 dazzling swords and charged fearlessly at Jin Pabai's battle of the 9 divine martial techniques. In the sky, the uncanny workmanship and the 8 notes of the heavenly dragon clashed violently. Every time they collided, the space around them would crumble. Yi Fei and Jin Pabai were forced to constantly change their positions, attacking from one side of the sky to the other. Outside of the Blood Sea Pass, the heavens and earth cracked and the Blood Sea started to sink. They disappeared a few hundred meters into the Blood Sea. Too terrifying, their attacks aren't at the martial emperor realm, but they have surpassed it. When the demons saw this scene, they screamed in horror. They secretly rejoiced that they had not rashly attacked Yi Fei. One-horned battle Emperor Chen Chongkong's eyes widened. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that such a powerhouse could emerge from the declining true martial sacred academy. This Yi Fei is actually so strong. After hearing this, the 8-armed saber Emperor Feng Badeo withdrew the disdainful expression on his face and calmly nodded his head. I've indeed misjudged him. However, no matter how strong he is, it doesn't change the fact that he has been abandoned by the heavens and earth. As long as he fails to overcome the martial dominator tribulation, it's only a matter of time before we trample him under our feet. Brother Domineering Saber, it sounds like you're going to attack Yi Fei? Chen Chongkong had a half-smile on his face. He's just a piece of trash. We don't need to do anything. Jin Pabai will definitely kill him. Jin Pabai has a domain, what does a piece of trash have? Feng Badao shook his head coldly. He admitted that he had underestimated Yi Fei's strength, but in his eyes, Yi Fei was still a cripple. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, the sky shook violently. Yi Fei had already lost count of how many times he had clashed with Jin Polai. Their attacks had finally reached the limit of what they could endure. Roar! A heavenly dragon let out a furious roar as its enormous body exploded into a golden glow. Die! The deity in the sky let out a furious roar. Jin Pabai tried to seize the opportunity to slash another heavenly dragon into pieces, but to his astonishment, his uncanny craftsmanship was shattered into pieces along with the destruction of his golden body. A draw? Yi Fei frowned, slightly displeased. Piss off! A piece of trash like you dares to fight me to a draw? Go die. Godly martial domain, I'll send you to the afterlife. Jin Pabai was infuriated. There were over 10,000 demons and the 2 emperors of the Heavenly Path Sacred Institute and Heavenly Strategy Sacred Institute watching the battle. If he could not even kill a cripple from a declining Sacred Institute, how could he, Jin Pabai, have any face left? Thus, Jin Pabai activated his divine martial domain without hesitation, even though he knew that Chen Chongkong and Yi Fei Ba were observing his strength. This time, it was not 7 lights, but 8 lights that appeared from Jin Pabai's body. Chen Chongkong and Feng Ba Dao's expressions changed drastically. Yi Fei was also surprised. He remembered that Jin Pabai had only comprehended 7 profound meanings a year ago, but now, he had comprehended another profound meaning. The Divine Martial Sacred Institute is the strongest sacred institute, so its disciples can't be underestimated. However, I must win this battle, not only for me, but also for the 7 dead disciples of the true Martial Sacred Institute. They had died because of him, so he had to avenge them. I'll use Jin Po Bai's head to pay tribute to them. Tai Chi domain. Yi Fei suddenly put away his broken golden body. When Jin Po Bai activated his divine martial domain and charged at him, 11 profound lights shot out of his hand. These profound meanings instantly formed a huge black and white Tai Chi. This was the real Tai Chi, the yin-yang Tai Chi. Under the light of the Tai Chi, Yi Fei's body suddenly became as tall as a demon. He held the Tai Chi of yin and yang in his hands and slammed it toward the giant god that was rushing toward him. 2 colors, one black and one white, intertwined like night and day, soundlessly smashing the god's open fists into pieces. His domain has fused with 11 profound meanings? Damn it! Jin Po Bai immediately realized that Yi Fei must have gained something from the temple. Intense jealousy and anger welled up in him, and he coughed up a bit of blood. Jin Po Bai's murderous intent was so intense that he almost went crazy. Yi Fei, I'm going to kill you! Jin Po Bai roared crazily. His missing fists reformed. The crazy god domain waved his iron fists in the sky, creating terrifying ripples in the void. The blood sea rolled up terrifying wave. Yi Fei only made one move. He made the yin-yang Tai Chi fill the sky. It suppressed the blood sea and the gods and demons. Boom! The gigantic yin-yang Tai Chi domain flew towards the deity in the sky. The deity in front of Jin Po Bai was smashed into pieces. Even Jin Po Bai, who was inside the deity, was severely injured by the Tai Chi domain. He coughed up blood and was forced to retreat. However, at that critical moment, Jin Po Bai's clothes suddenly released a strong chi of the martial emperor and successfully blocked the yin-yang Tai Chi domain. Yi Fei couldn't help but curse his bad luck. He should have thought of this. Jin Po Bai was one of the top 10 holy princes of the divine martial sacred courtyard. He was the holy prince of the divine martial sacred courtyard. How could the divine martial sacred courtyard not give him a treasure to protect himself? However, the treasure isn't an imperial prince. Let's see how many times you can block my Tai Chi domain. After that, Yi Fei took a step forward and raised the yin-yang Tai Chi domain again. He threw it at Jin Po Bai again. Jin Po Bai was scared out of his wits. He could only shout, Yi Fei, I'm one of the top 10 holy princes of the divine martial sacred courtyard. If you kill me, you'll destroy the divine martial sacred courtyard. Chapter 1241. The Great Battle Rumble. The walls of the blood customs were shaking. A gigantic yin and yang Tai Chi covered the sky and suppressed the blood sea. Jin Po Bai roared in anger as the divine martial domain was shattered and the golden god statue was crumbling. This was the Tai Chi field, which crushed the Shenwu field mercilessly. It was also this kind of suppression that made Jin Po Bai almost go crazy. I won't lose. I'm Jin Po Bai, one of the top 10 heavenly sons of the Shenwu Sacred Academy. How can I lose to a mortal? That's right. I don't have any special bloodline. I'm just a mortal. I'm a crippled body. So what? I was born ordinary. I grew up humble. My Tao is the Tao of mortals. It's also the Tao of invincibility. Kill. Yi Fei said coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He thought of the sword steel and the 7 disciples of the true martial sacred academy that Jin Po Bai had killed to vent his anger. Those were innocent heads. Now I'll take revenge for them. Rumble. The huge yin-yang taiji once again smashed into Jin Po Bai's body, finally shattering his protective armor. Just as Yi Fei was about to smash Jin Po Bai to death, 2 terrifying rays of light suddenly appeared in the distance. They worked together to block his attack. Jin Po Bai was overjoyed. Chen Chongkong, Feng Ba Dao, you came at the right time. Let's work together and kill this traitor of the Sacred Academy. He pointed at Yi Fei, his eyes filled with jealousy and hatred. He knew that he had been completely defeated. He had been defeated miserably and humiliatingly. The only way to redeem himself was to kill Yi Fei at all costs. Chen Chongkong nodded and said coldly, "Don't worry, Brother Jean. The 3 sacred academies are united. We won't let anything happen to you. Kid, you're quite capable. But you can't kill Jean Pabai." Feng Ba Dao nodded coldly. His eyes flashed with murderous intent. He was just a mortal, but he could grow to such a level. Not only did he surpass many bloodline warriors, he even almost killed Jean Pabai. The most unbearable thing was that Yi Fei came from the real martial sacred courtyard. That was something the 3 sacred courtyards couldn't tolerate. Since the true martial sacred courtyard had declined, they should let it continue to decline. Good, you guys have indeed made your move. When Jean Polai had asked for help, Yi Fei had already known that the Sky Path and the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy would make a move. However, deep down, he was still very unhappy. Zhao Yu from the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy is an old friend of mine. Chen Chongkong, are you related to her? Yi Fei coldly stared at the one-horned battle emperor on the left. In response, Chen Chongkong laughed proudly. "Old friend my ass. I think you're just a toad lusting after a swan. Let me tell you, Zhao Yu is the woman that our holy son has his eyes on. He won't allow a toad to have an unclear relationship with Zhao Yu." Yi Fei had a strange expression. He shook his head and looked at Feng Ba Dao. "The Northern Fist Emperor Dongfang Yu is a good friend of mine. Are you related to Dongfang Yu?" In response, Feng Ba Dao sneered and said disdainfully, "Northern Fist Emperor? He's just a brute who doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. He offended someone he shouldn't have in the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard. After I kill you, I'll go back and personally send him on his way." Good. Since you guys aren't related to Zhao Yu and Dongfang Yu, I can rest assured. The 3 of you will die together. Yi Fei pointed at Jean Pabai, Feng Ba Dao and Chen Chongkong. In the end, before the 3 of them could react, he had already raised the huge yin-yang tai chi and smashed it at the 3 of them. "Impudent! You dare! You're courting death!" The 3 of them were enraged. The demons in the distance were also in an uproar. No one had thought that Yi Fei would be so terrifying. Killing Jean Pabai was already crazy enough. Now, he wanted to kill Feng Ba Dao and Chen Chongkong as well. Ha, this is the man of the northern region. If you want to fight, fight. If you want to kill, kill. Zhao Qianjun said heroically. However, he didn't attack. He only intimidated the demons in the surroundings so that they wouldn't disturb the 4 of them. Zhao Qianjun's action made the 3 of them feel relieved. Then, anger appeared on Chen Chongkong's face. His horn emitted a black demonic light, and a crazy demonic aura erupted from his horn. Accompanied by a thunderous roar, Chen Chongkong's eyes turned purple, and black scales covered his entire body. He had turned into a half-human, half-demonic demon, and with his powerful physical body, he charged at Yi Fei. Boom, 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 boom. 8 arms appeared behind Feng Ba Dao's back. Each arm held a golden battle saber. The 8 sabers attacked together. Kill. Godly martial descends. Seeing a chance to turn the tables, Jean Pabai's hair was disheveled. His eyes were bloodshot. His madness made the god he summoned turn into a mad god. The god went berserk. His iron fists exploded the sky and were about to destroy Yi Fei's body. Yi Fei wasn't afraid. Facing the 3's attacks, he quickly withdrew the yin-yang tai chi. Suddenly, the tai chi draped over his body. It immediately formed a dazzling violet tai chi circle, blocking all of Jean Pabai's and Chen Chongkong's attack. Then, he suddenly charged at Feng Ba Dao, who was the furthest away. He gave up on what was close at hand and went for what was far away. Chen Chongkong and the other 2 were shocked by this. Chen Chongkong and Jean Pabai attacked Yi Fei as if they had gone crazy. The violet tai chi circle kept shrinking. However, the violet tai chi circle's defense was too strong. It was so strong that Chen Chongkong and Jin Pe Bai felt a trace of fear and despair in their hearts. Invincible! Invincible! Is this a secret technique of the true martial sacred courtyard? Feng Ba Dao's eyes were fierce. He didn't wait for Yi Fei to charge over. His 8 arms suddenly spun like windmills, each of them using a different saber art. Night battle in 8 directions, a special technique of the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard. It allows one to use 8 different martial arts at the same time. Yi Fei praised inwardly. However, he didn't show any mercy. The devouring spirit sword appeared in his hand again. A dazzling violet sword light suddenly formed a Tai Chi sword diagram and stabbed forward. It then parted in front of Feng Ba Dao and pierced through his 8 arms. The Tai Chi Yin-Yang sword's power completely surpassed Feng Ba Dao's reaction time. By the time he reacted, the Tai Chi Yin-Yang sword had already taken away his defense. With a loud explosion, Feng Ba Dao's head flew out and rolled in front of the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard's disciples. Feng Ba Dao was killed in one strike? The Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard's disciples were in an uproar. Before they could react, another earth-shattering explosion came from the sky above the Blood Sea. Jin Pe Bai and Chen Chongkong had finally broken Yi Fei's violet Tai Chi circle. Heavenly Dao reincarnation! Chen Chongkong was overjoyed. His demonized arms were unstoppable. He used his fingernails to tear through the void and viciously tore at Yi Fei's back. Chapter 1242. Demonic Eruption, Kill Him! Avenge Senior Apprentice Brother Feng. The Heavenly Book Sacred Academy's disciples were all infuriated when they saw Feng Badeo's head. Feng Badeo and Chen Chongkong were both future holy princes of their respective academies. But now they had been killed by a disciple of a declining academy. This was no longer a grudge between disciples. It was related to the academy's reputation. The Heavenly Book Sacred Academy's disciples didn't dare to be careless. They used their actions to show their stance. Kill him! Kill this wretched cripple! It wasn't just the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy. The Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy, Divine Martial Sacred Academy, and Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy's disciples all saw an opportunity to kill Yi Fei. They flew into the sky, planning to work together with Chen Chongkong and Jin Pe Bai to kill Yi Fei. Hong Yu raged. How can these disciples be more despicable than us? Master, should we make a move? Zhao Qianjun smiled. This is the Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy's matter. We can't interfere. It doesn't matter how many of you come. Roar. As if to prove Zhao Qianjuan's words, Yi Fei didn't retreat even when his taiji shattered. Instead, he roared. The heavenly dragon's music shook heaven and earth. The surrounding heavenly dragon's music also shook the souls of the surrounding demons. Chen Chongkong was half human and half demon. His demonic nature was stronger, so the heavenly dragon's music suppressed him even more. Just as his demonic claws were about to tear Yi Fei apart, his mind buzzed. He hugged his horn and screamed. Die! Taiji Domain, Life and Death Fist. Taking advantage of Chen Chongkong being stunned by the 8 heavenly dragons' music, Yi Fei's body moved and suddenly took the initiative to meet Jin Pe Bai's uncanny workmanship. His fist was covered in a brilliant purple-gold glow, which soon turned into a dense fist of death and a majestic fist of life. The power of life and death revolved crazily in Yi Fei's hand. It made Yi Fei seem like a death god that controlled life and death. The terrifying life and death fist turned into a gloomy demonic star that smashed the heavenly god's music into pieces. Impossible! How can he be so strong? Attack! All of you attack together. Kill him for me. This time, Jin Pe Bai was really scared out of his wit. Among the 3 of them, even the slightly weaker Saint Child could fight to a draw. However, in front of Yi Fei, one of them was dead and 2 were injured. Besides Yi Fei's domain, Yi Fei's martial techniques were also abnormal. Jin Pe Bai was terrified. This is definitely a secret technique of the true martial sacred institute. I must bring this news back and tell the Holy Sun and the Divine Martial Sacred Institute. Jean Poli retreated crazily. He was still thinking about how to take advantage of this to claim credit, but soon, terrifying screams came from behind him. Yi Fei's golden light flashed, resembling an ancient war devil. He strode forward, disregarding everything. The 7th level of the war devil golden body allowed him to withstand the joint attacks of over 10 disciples without any injuries, after which, he took a step forward and slashed out with his sword. You can't kill me. I'm the Heavenly Emperor of the Divine Martial Sacred Institute. If I kill the Heavenly Emperor, the Divine Martial Sacred Institute will take revenge. Jean Poli was terrified. He quickly opened his divine martial domain to block Yi Fei's terrifying sword. Die! A violent black shadow suddenly appeared in the distance. The heavenly dragon's music had only stunned Chen Chongkong for a breath's time. Then, the powerful demonic nature in his body woke Chen Chongkong up. He saw that Jean Poli was in danger. Chen Chongkong was furious. He suddenly condensed the demonic nature in his body into a black vortex. It was like a black heavenly tribulation. He quickly threw it at Yi Fei. Heavenly Tao demonic destruction. Boom. Boom. The black heavenly tribulation cloud covered Yi Fei. Endless black lightning carried the heavenly Tao demonic might and struck Yi Fei's body. Yi Fei's war demon golden body shook and a strange expression flashed past his face. When the black lightning hit him, the black lotus in his body spun crazily again. It formed a black vortex and quickly absorbed the black lightning. Ah! The stimulation of his demonic nature caused Yi Fei to open his mouth and roar. The whistling sound waves actually contained a strange gravitational force. From an outsider's perspective, it looked like Yi Fei had opened his mouth and swallowed the black tribulation clouds in the sky. Roar! The powerful demonic nature invaded Yi Fei's mind again. His eyes turned red. He suddenly raised the devouring soul sword with both hands and slashed forward. He used pure strength to shatter Jean Poli's domain. At the same time, he chopped off Jean Poli's head. Jean Poli is also dead. He even swallowed my demonic Tao heavenly tribulation. Chen Chongkong's legs suddenly started to tremble. Although he was half a demon, he felt respect and fear from the bottom of his soul when he felt the demonic nature in Yi Fei's body. This demon must be killed by a saint. Chen Chongkong was furious. He made a prompt decision and turned to leave. He did not care about the lives of others. Roar! 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 Suddenly, a loud dragon's roar came from the sky. It was like the first sound of heaven and earth. It was mysterious and oppressive. This time, the 8 tribes' heavenly dragon appeared out of thin air. Its enormous dragon jaws opened, and it roared furiously at Yi Fei, Chen Chongkong, and heaven and earth. What? Chen Chongkong's half-demon body stiffened again. Before he could react, the 8 division heavenly dragons had already swooped down and suppressed him. The suppression of the heavenly dragons finally caused the demonic nature in Yi Fei's mind to dissipate. He thought that it was a close call. However, when he thought about how he had almost turned into a demon, he looked at Chen Chongkong angrily. You want to make me turn into a demon? You should die. Spare me, Yi Fei. You've already offended the Divine Martial Academy and the Heavenly Books Academy. If you kill me, you'll offend the 3 academies at the same time. You have no choice. Chen Chongkong was terrified. He wanted to live, but he had forgotten how disdainful he had been to Yi Fei. He could only beg for his life. Yi Fei, stop! 3 powerful half-emperors rushed out from the Blood Sea Gate. They were all wearing the emperor's clothes of the true martial academy. The leader was called Zhou Ming. He was from the Zhou clan of the academy. He had heard that the Divine Martial Academy had killed a disciple of the true Martial Academy and had come to mediate. Chapter 1243. Public Enemy of the Four Academies, Bastard. Bastard. Yi Fei, it's one thing for you to do evil in the Sacred Academy, but now that you're in the Dragon Head world, you're even worse. Yi Fei, do you know what you've done? Who's Jin Bai? He's a direct disciple of one of the deans in the Divine Martial Academy. Feng Ba Dao is the son of one of the martial emperors in the Heavenly Policy Academy. And Chen Chongkong, he's the youngest disciple with the most potential in the Heavenly Law Academy. You're a scourge. You've caused a huge disaster this time. Do you know how big of a disaster this will bring to the True Martial Academy? The three emperors of the True Martial Academy were furious. Zhou Ming, who was the leader, looked murderous. It was worth mentioning that he was Zhou Bai's uncle. Zhou Bai's bloodline had been sealed, and he'd been demoted to a servant for the rest of his life. He was already unhappy with Yi Fei. This time, when he saw Yi Fei's demonic nature erupt and kill so many disciples of the three academies, he was so angry that his eyes were spitting fire. Without even thinking, he had already put on the majesty of the Son of Heaven and directly rebuked him without asking for the reason. Yi Fei was furious. He sneered. Before I came in, the three deans told me that I can't be merciful in the Dragon Head world. They killed me first. Can't I kill them back? You three knew that the Divine Martial Academy killed our disciples, but you didn't show up. Now that I've finished fighting, you've shown up. What's your intention? Whoosh. Hearing this, the two emperors' faces turned red. Indeed, when they heard that the Divine Martial Academy was killing the disciples of the True Martial Academy, they were so scared that they wanted to leave the Dragon Head world. Then they heard that it was all because Yi Fei had provoked Jin Bai. The three emperors changed their minds and discussed whether they could use Yi Fei as a pawn in exchange for Jin Bai's mercy on the other disciples of the True Martial Academy. However, they didn't expect that Yi Fei would be so valiant. He'd killed Feng Ba Dao and Jin Bai under the siege of the three academies. They knew that if they allowed Yi Fei to continue killing, he would end up offending the three sacred academies. They might even end up drawing the hatred of the three sacred academies onto them. Thus, the three of them couldn't sit still any longer. They quickly stepped forward to stop Yi Fei from making a huge mistake. At this moment, the three emperors of the True Martial Academy, they wouldn't admit that they didn't save Yi Fei. Zhou Ming scolded Yi Fei, "Demon, don't talk nonsense. As the emperor of the Sacred Academy, we should think of the Sacred Academy. You're in the Sacred Academy. Yi Fei. Use. Heaven's senior brother, Weiss will not you." Humph, as the saying goes, take a step back and you'll be safe. If you take a step forward, you'll be doomed. Now that our True Martial Academy has declined, we should hide our strength and bide our time, standing aloof from the world. You bastard, you disrespected your elders in the Sacred Academy. In the Dragon Head realm, you killed people and even colluded with demons. You're clearly trying to destroy the unity and harmony of our four sacred academies. One of the emperors rebuked angrily. Hearing this, Yi Fei couldn't help but roar. He waved his hand and sent the 7 heads of the disciples of the True Martial Academy to the 3 emperors. If you have the guts, say what you just said again. Is this the unity and harmony you want? When others killed our disciples, you didn't say a word. But when I killed the disciples of the other sacred academies, you ran out and told me all this. Look at their eyes, those are the eyes of innocent souls who died with grievances. Zhou Ming and the other 2 turned pale and their eyes were filled with shame. However, they were still disciples of the heaven stage, the hope of the sacred academy. Now, they were being criticized in public by an earth stage junior brother who had no future at all. They all felt that they had lost face. Zhou Ming was even more furious. Soon, he scolded righteously, "Bastard, shut up! If you didn't provoke Jinpa first, how could they have died? Their deaths were all caused by you. Another emperor stood up and said bitterly, Our true martial academy is unfortunate to have a bastard like you. You're clearly trying to destroy the unity and harmony of our 4 sacred academies. Don't talk too much with this bastard. This person has committed grave sins. We must take him back and hand him over to the dean. Why don't you kneel down and accept the decree, then seal your cultivation and follow us back to the true martial academy to await the dean's punishment? The last emperor snorted coldly. Then, he arrogantly condensed a heaven-stage decree in the air and ordered Yi Fei on the spot. Hearing this, the veins on Yi Fei's forehead throbbed wildly. However, before he could get angry, Chen Chongkong, who was suppressed by the Sky Dragon, had already struggled and roared, Zhou Ming, your true martial academy is finished. He humiliated us like this and even killed so many of our people. Don't even think about protecting him. Senior Brother Chen, don't worry. We swear that we are definitely not shielding this evil creature. Instead, we want to capture him and bring him back. I also guarantee that our Holy Son will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation for this matter. After Zhou Ming finished speaking, he repeatedly bowed to the disciples of the 3rd courtyard with a sincere expression of apology. Yi Fei's heart turned cold, and he suddenly felt disheartened. I finally understand why the true martial academy has declined so much. It's not that the martial arts of the true martial academy aren't strong, but that there are too many people like you who bully the weak and fear the strong. When facing the weak, you show off your might, but when facing the strong, you only know how to flatter and be as cowardly as a chicken. Haven't you heard that a man should be strong, a man should fight, and a man should kill? A man's dignity is earned by killing with a knife and a spear, not by handing it over and being trampled on by others. If you want an explanation, I'll give you one now. Yi Fei's face was cold. Poof! Sword light flashed, and a head fell. Chen Chongkong's hideous head had already fallen into Yi Fei's hands. His eyes were wide open. Even until his death, he still couldn't believe that Yi Fei really dared to kill him. Boom! This sight caused fear to appear on the faces of the disciples of the 3 sacred academies. Chen Chongkong was dead, Feng Badeo was dead, and Jin Polai was also dead. Who else was there that Yi Fei didn't dare to kill? True Martial Academy, you're finished. From now on, the 3 academies will fight you to the death. After the shock, the disciples of the 3 academies all ran for their lives in fear. They didn't even dare to turn back and look at Yi Fei. Zhou Ming and the other 2 stared blankly at the head in Yi Fei's hands. They were shocked and furious. Zhou Ming pointed at Yi Fei, his killing intent surging. Demon, you dare to do this in front of us? 8th Division Heavenly Dragon! Roar! What answered Zhou Ming was the 8th Division Heavenly Dragons swooping down. The golden dragon tails were like steel whips, ruthlessly whipping the 3 of them. Zhou Ming and the other 2 all spat out blood. They were instantly suppressed by the heavenly dragons. In the end, they were just ordinary heaven stage disciples. They had ultimates, but they couldn't block the unique golden body of the 8th Division Heavenly Dragon. Poof! Zhou Ming spat out a mouthful of blood, and his anger subsided. He looked at Yi Fei with a gaze that changed from anger to deep fear. Domain, you actually have 2 types of domain? What? 2 types of domain? Isn't he a piece of trash abandoned by the heavens? How can he be so strong? Another suppressed emperor was unwilling to accept this. Yi Fei, you're crazy. You're also a disciple of the true Martial Academy. If you kill us, you'll not only offend the 3 academies, but you'll also become the public enemy of the 4 academies. Are you going to betray the academy? The 3rd emperor said sternly, wanting to use the academy to save his life. Chapter 1244. Blood Burial. From today onward, I, Yi Fei, will leave the true martial sacred academy. Yi Fei's words were loud and clear. He was disappointed in the true martial sacred academy after seeing the performance of Zhou Ming and the others. The true martial sacred academy had declined, not because of martial arts, but because of people's hearts. However, it was still a member of the sacred academy and had trained him. Although he left the sacred academy, he couldn't forget his roots. Therefore, Yi Fei held back his killing intent. He did not kill Zhou Ming and the other two. He only used the 8th Division Heavenly Dragon to firmly suppress them. Then, with a wave of his hand, the 7 heads that had died with their eyes open flew to him. You died because of the Sacred Academy's decline and because of me. Now I've killed Jean Polai and the others with my own hands. You can rest in peace. Whoosh! As if they heard Yi Fei's words, the 7 heads of the true martial Sacred Academy's disciples slowly closed their eyes. Their resentful expressions turned peaceful. Hong Yu, raise the graves. Yi Fei ordered Hong Yu, who wasn't far away. Hong Yu nodded and suddenly clapped her hands on the sea of blood. The rolling sea of blood parted, revealing a shoal. Boom! Hong Yu clapped her hands again, creating a deep red hole in the shoal. This was the Dragon Head Field's special funeral blood burial. Souls. Bury souls. Yi Fei dragged his voice. He walked step by step to the shoal and buried the 7 heads in the hole. He waved his hand, and the broken sword steel flew over. He inserted it into the ground, forming a wordless tombstone. I don't know your names. All I can do is use the heads of the enemy leaders to pay tribute to your souls. Boom! He stepped into the air and walked to the top of the sword steel. Then, he inserted 3 ferocious and terrifying heads into the sword steel with his own hand. Jean Polai, Chen Chongkong, and Feng Badeo. Kneel. The dragon moved and grabbed Zhou Ming and the other 2. It came to the sword steel and pressed down with its claws. Zhou Ming and the other 2 were forced to kneel in front of the sword steel. Yi Fei, you'll die a horrible death. You can kill us, but you can't humiliate us. Kill us if you dare. Demon, you betrayed the Sacred Academy. We'll tear you to pieces sooner or later. Zhou Ming and the other 2 thought that they were about to die, so they cursed to hide the fear in their hearts. Don't worry, I won't kill you. But you must atone for your mistakes. If you're willing to help them, they won't die a horrible death. No matter how arrogant the divine martial sacred courtyard was, they couldn't casually kill Tian-level disciples of the true martial sacred courtyard. Each Tian-level disciple had the opportunity to break through to the Huang Qi layer. The 4 divine martial sacred courtyards had put all their efforts into cultivating them. If any of them were killed, they would become enemies. However, Zhou Ming and the other 2 clearly knew this point. Yet, because of their cowardice, they were wise to protect themselves and did not save them. For the sake of the true martial sacred academy, Yi Fei wouldn't kill them. They might be spared from death, but they couldn't escape punishment. Therefore, Yi Fei decided to make them repent, even if it was just a formality. From now on, I don't owe the Sacred Academy anything. Forgiving Zhou Ming and the other 2 was his bottom line. Of course, Zhou Ming and the other 2 weren't grateful for Yi Fei's kindness. They were furious. Who were they? They were disciples of the Sacred Academy. Yi Fei asked them to kneel to a group of dead people. They would never admit that it was their cowardice that had caused the deaths of these people. However, they couldn't do anything about it. The heads belonged to the disciples of the Divine Martial Sacred Courtyard, the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard, and the Heavenly Tao Sacred Courtyard. Zhao Qianjun had killed all the disciples of the 3 academies when Yi Fei was holding the blood funeral. Spirits are hidden in the blood sea, and the enemy's souls are shattered. The 3 great saint academies just happened to be able to stack up 3 statues of human heads. I don't want anyone to disturb this tomb. Whoever disturbs it will be my enemy. Yi Fei stood up and looked at the evil spirits who hadn't retreated. A commotion broke out among the demons. Then, a hidden demonic martial emperor walked out from the crowd and bowed respectfully toward Yi Fei. The scene was quite strange. A seventh-layer martial sacred was able to suppress a real martial emperor, but the demons did not feel strange at all. In the dragon head world, strength was respected. Yi Fei was strong enough to win the respect of the evil spirits, even if the evil spirit was a martial emperor. The martial emperor said, "Young Master Yi, don't worry. We are evil spirits, but we also respect heroes. This sword steel and your achievements will be spread throughout the dragon head world." "Thank you." Yi Fei cupped his hands. "Young Master Yi, you're too polite." All of the sinister devils hurriedly returned the salute. Even the most ferocious sinister devils looked at Yi Fei with reverence in their eyes. This blood burial also made Yi Fei famous. Soon, the great battle at the Blood Sea Gate would spread throughout the entire Dragon Head world. The cowardice of Zhou Ming and the other two, as well as Yi Fei's strength, made many evil demons secretly apprehensive. They made up their minds not to provoke Yi Fei. Did we really do something wrong? Seeing that Yi Fei alone could scare off close to 10,000 evil spirits, and that even the martial emperors didn't dare to be disrespectful to Yi Fei, Zhou Ming and the other two's hearts were greatly impacted. They were also heavenly sons. Being able to pass the heaven stage test of the sacred court meant that their talent was extraordinary. But why couldn't they compare to Yi Fei? Maybe we really did something wrong. He is right. The true martial sacred court is weak because we are too weak. In the dead of night, a kneeling heavenly son sighed. What answered him was Zhou Ming's ferocious gaze. Bullshit. The true martial sacred court is weak because we don't have a strong quasi-emperor who can suppress the other sacred courts and the Tian Fa quasi-emperor. Who does Yi Fei think he is? He is trash abandoned by the heavens. No matter how strong he is, he will definitely die under the martial emperor tribulation. No, he doesn't need to wait for the martial emperor tribulation. He betrayed the sacred court. The martial emperors of the sacred court will definitely hunt him down. Maybe Yi Fei deliberately betrayed the sacred court. He caused too much trouble this time. Only by betraying the sacred court will the other sacred courts not target the true martial sacred court, the third heavenly son said hesitantly. Kneeling before the sword steel, Zhou Ming and the other two were angry, roaring, and resentful. However, when they really calmed down and sorted out this matter, one of them vaguely discovered Yi Fei's painstaking efforts. Of course, Zhou Ming, who was filled with hatred, wouldn't accept this point of view. When the suppression of the domain ended, Zhou Ming jumped up in anger. He waved his hand and threw a sword steel at the Blood Sea. When he saw the sword steel, he felt like he was looking at his own humiliation. "Senior brother Zhou, are you crazy? What are you doing?" "What am I doing? Of course I'm going to destroy the sword steel. Who does Yi Fei think he is? How dare he threaten us? Senior brother Zhou, don't forget that there are still the heads of Jin Po Bai, Chen Changkong, and Feng Ba Dao. If you destroy the sword steel, not only will you offend Yi Fei, but you will also offend the three sacred courts." Zhou Ming's angry roar suddenly stopped. He hated Yi Fei, but he didn't have the guts to go against the three sacred courts, even if he did it secretly. Chapter 1245. Falling into the demonic path, junior brother, have you really decided to leave the true martial sacred academy? Zhao Qianjun sighed. With the talent Yi Fei had shown, he should have been absolutely valued in any sacred academy, but because of the body of heaven, many people were not optimistic about Yi Fei. "I've decided. Zhou Ming and the others are abominable, but they are right about one thing. I've made too much trouble this time. If I continue to stay in the true martial sacred academy, it will bring disaster to the sacred academy. Leaving is my only choice. It's also my last repayment to the sacred academy." Yi Fei was also very depressed. In fact, he didn't want to leave the sacred academy. After all, Xia Jun and the others were all in the Sacred Academy. Now he only hoped that the Sacred Academy would understand his painstaking efforts and not make things difficult for them. Fortunately, the Sacred Academy still has Shanglu. Although this girl is a bit greedy, she is still quite loyal. She should be able to protect Xia Jun and the others. But even so, Yi Fei was still a little worried. After all, he had made a big trouble this time. Even if he took the initiative to leave in order to avoid causing trouble for the true martial Sacred Academy, he was afraid that the higher-ups of the Sacred Academy would not understand his painstaking efforts and would still punish Xia Jun and the others. So he thought for a moment. Yi Fei then said to Zhao Qianjun, "Senior brother, I know you will leave the Dragon Head realm in a few days. If possible, go to the Merchant Alliance and ask them to send a letter to Shanglu. Only if the Sacred Academy understands my difficulties will they not make things difficult for Xia Jun and the others." Zhao Qianjuan's face suddenly changed color. "Junior brother, are you trying to drive me away? Do you think I am the kind of person who is afraid of death?" Now that Yi Fei had offended 3 Sacred Academies at the same time and had taken the initiative to leave the true martial Sacred Academy, it could be said that a great disaster was imminent. Yi Fei wanted to drive him away, which made Zhao Qianjun very unhappy. Yi Fei understood this point and could only explain with a wry smile, "Senior brother, please listen to me. I can solve my own business. Besides, because I am the public enemy of the 4 academies, if you continue to suffer with me, what do you want Zhao Xinian to do? I cannot abandon my brother for the sake of my daughter." Zhao Qianjuan's tone was incomparably resolute. He was an evil demon, but in Yi Fei's eyes, Zhao Qianjun was more worthy of respect than many self-proclaimed righteous people. It was precisely because of this respect that he absolutely would not allow Zhao Qianjun to accompany him in taking risk. Yi Fei said, "Senior apprentice brother Zhao, if you stay, you will only become a burden to me. After this, I might join the evil demon sect. If you follow me, it will be detrimental to my plan." Upon hearing this, Hong Yu's heart trembled. She looked at Yi Fei in utter shock. Could it be that he was about to fall into the demonic path? Zhao Qianjuan's eyes suddenly lit up. He had more or less understood Yi Fei's plan. He grinned, "Haha, you are indeed my junior brother. Your plan is not bad. The black lotus in your body was planted by the blood demon sect. If you want to resolve it, the best way is to find the blood ancestor of the blood demon sect and ask him personally. Not only that, you have killed the disciples of the 3 great sacred academies and suppressed the Son of Heaven of the real martial Sacred Academy. Others will think that you have really betrayed the real martial Sacred Academy. At this time, if you fall into the demonic path and join the blood demon sect, they will believe you." The more Zhao Qianjun thought about this plan, the more brilliant it was. He could not help but give Yi Fei a thumbs up. And only the heavens knew that joining the evil demon sect was just a perfunctory excuse for Yi Fei. His original intention was to not let Zhao Qianjun suffer the joint revenge of the 3 great sacred academies. Unfortunately, Zhao Qianjuan's mind was too shrewd. He actually came up with a plan to infiltrate the blood demon sect. Yi Fei was speechless. However, it seemed that this plan was very feasible. After all, the reason he stayed in the Dragon Head realm was to find a way to dissolve the Black Lotus in his body. And when it came to understanding the Black Lotus, it was undoubtedly the blood ancestors of the Blood Demon sect. If he could learn the secret of the Black Lotus from them, there would be hope for him to get rid of the Black Lotus. Junior brother, junior brother? Zhao Qianjuan's continuous yelling brought Yi Fei back to his senses. What's wrong with you? Is the demonic nature acting up again? Just now Yi Fei had killed a lot of people. Senior brother, don't worry, I have the golden body of the 8th Division Heavenly Dragon to suppress. The Black Lotus won't be able to stir up too much trouble. I suddenly thought, if senior brother finds Zhao Xinian, where do you plan to go next? Yi Fei asked curiously. Zhao Qianjun smiled bitterly. Senior brother, I have been lonely all my life. Fortunately, I have a daughter, but I still owe her a lot. If possible, I will take her back to the Northern Territory to acknowledge her ancestors. That's great. I wonder if senior brother is interested in joining the 6 sacred sects. Yi Fei said expectantly. 6 sacred sects? Junior brother, are you kidding me? I'm a demonic cultivator. Why would an ancient sect like that be interested in me? Zhao Qianjun shook his head. In the past, due to his inferiority due to his identity as a demonic cultivator, he did not even enter the heaven-forsaken land, but left the Northern Territory and went to the outer ocean. It was one of Zhao Qianjun's regrets. Hearing Yi Fei mentioning the past, Zhao Qianjun let out a sigh. The sigh gave Yi Fei a glimmer of hope. When he thought about the possible retaliation from the 3 sacred institutes, as well as the martial god pact with the human demon in 100 years, Yi Fei felt that he had to make preparations in advance. That way, even if he died midway, Zhao Qianjun would be able to shoulder the heavy responsibility of defending the northern region against the human demon. Yi Fei's expression turned serious as he said in a deep voice, Senior brother, you don't have to worry about that. The 6 sacred sects have their own demonic path, and the martial arts there are enough for you to reach the martial god realm. When you return to the Northern Territory, you can take my badge and go to the heaven-forsaken land. With your strength, you can easily obtain the approval of the demonic sacred palace. Saying this, he took out the badge of the Azura Sacred Palace and handed it to Zhao Qianjun. It was the token that he had recommended, as it was his contribution to the 6 sacred sects before he fell into the demonic path. Well, since it's junior brother's request, I'll definitely go to the 6 sacred sects. I'll also take care of the family Yi for you. Zhao Qianjun was aware of something from Yi Fei's serious expression, but he did not ask anything. Yi Fei did not explain anything either. In order to let Zhao Qianjun go to the 6 sacred sects as soon as possible, he suddenly recalled something and reminded, by the way, I have a master of divinations who is very good at finding people. If senior brother is looking for Zhao Xinian, you can go to the True Martial Sacred Institute and ask the master of divinations for you. I'll remember it. Take care, junior brother. Zhao Qianjun was not surprised, but there was a sad look on his face. Senior brother, take care too. I hope that we can meet again in the future. Yi Fei said the last sentence in his heart. This time, the 3 sacred institutes had suffered heavy casualties. Once he left the True Martial Sacred Institute, the 3 sacred institutes would definitely take revenge on him. He did not know if he could survive. There was also the Black Lotus in his body, which was always a hidden danger. He did not know if joining the Blood Demon sect would be able to get the method to resolve the Black Lotus from the Blood Ancestor. I can only take one step at a time. If the Blood Ancestor is not willing to tell me, then I will use force. Even if I have to destroy the entire Blood Demon sect, I will resolve this damn Black Lotus in my body. Watching Zhao Qianjun and Hong Yu leave, Yi Fei's eyes gradually turned cold. Originally, Zhao Qianjun wanted Hong Yu to stay and help, but Yi Fei refused. After all, Hong Yu was just an ordinary martial saint, and would not be of much help to him. This time, Yi Fei decided to join the Blood Demon sect alone. Chapter 1246. Unremitting Yi Fei had underestimated the impact of him falling into the demonic Tao during the battle at the Blood Sea Gate. On the 2nd day of his journey in the Dragon Head realm, there were actually evil demon martial monarchs who came personally to invite Yi Fei to join their evil demon sect. Some even offered high positions, such as Vice Sect Master or Vice Sect Master. However, Yi Fei rejected them all. He had entered the demonic Tao to find a way to resolve the Black Lotus in his body, not for the so-called high position. However, the invitation of these evil demon martial monarchs still made him feel much more at ease. Senior brother Zhao is still the most experienced. Once I became the public enemy of the 4 academies, there were actually many evil demon martial monarchs who believed that I had fallen into the demonic Tao. Of course, this was also related to the battle at the Bloodsea Gate. He had killed too fiercely and ruthlessly. The heaven-ranked disciples of the 3 great sacred academies were all wiped out together with the ordinary disciples. Such a huge loss was enough to make people believe that he had become an evil demon. Not to mention, he had also suppressed 3 heaven-ranked disciples of the true martial sacred academy in public. After the imprisonment was lifted, Zhou Ming and the other 2 immediately fled the Dragon Head realm dejectedly. They returned to the true martial sacred academy with hatred and dissatisfaction to report his betrayal. In the Dragon Head realm, Yi Fei's fame spread rapidly among the evil demons. He was even on par with the evil demon sword Saint Zhao Qianjun, gaining the respect and admiration of a large group of evil demons. It seems that another outstanding junior has appeared among the evil demons. He is the first on the heaven ranking and an invincible prime. It is the true martial sacred academy's loss that they did not retain such a genius. Similarly, it is also our luck. In the Dragon Head realm, in a wasteland filled with white bones, stood a black palace. Inside the palace, pairs of cold eyes were observing the interactions between the evil demon martial monarchs and Yi Fei through a water mirror. More strictly speaking, the owners of these gazes seemed to be personally interacting with Yi Fei through the eyes of those evil demon martial monarchs. However, the owners of these eyes were angry that no matter how they tried to recruit him, Yi Fei actually rejected them on the spot. This made them very angry. That man is not simple. He betrayed the real martial sacred courtyard after killing the disciples of the sacred courtyard. He didn't give us any excuse to attack the real martial sacred courtyard. On a mountain peak of the divine martial sacred courtyard, an old man shook his head. After receiving the news that Jean Pobai and the others had died, he sighed heavily. Behind him stood a large group of emperors. What was different from the real martial sacred courtyard was that these martial emperors were all very young. Very few of them had old faces. This also proved that their lifespans were very sufficient and their battle prowess was also at the peak. Hearing the old man's words, many people's expressions turned furious. The youngest martial emperor retorted angrily, "Even if we can't do anything to the real martial sacred courtyard, we must kill Yi Fei. Dean, please let me kill him and restore the reputation of the sacred courtyard." "No, martial emperors can't fight. Otherwise, that old bastard of the real martial sacred courtyard will be infuriated. How about this? You can join forces with the Heavenly Tao and the Heavenly Book sacred courtyard and issue a mission to kill Yi Fei. Let the disciples deal with this matter. I'd like to see how the real martial sacred courtyard will react to this matter." The Dean of the Divine Martial Sacred Courtyard shook his head. After dealing with this matter, he returned to the sky and continued cultivating in seclusion. Only a group of martial emperors was left, looking at each other. They didn't understand why the Dean of the True Martial Sacred Courtyard was still so scared when the Dean of the True Martial Sacred Courtyard had declined. Many impulsive martial emperors would have charged into the Dragon Head field and killed Yi Fei already. It was a coincidence. When they realized that the martial emperors of the Divine Martial Sacred Courtyard didn't make a move and only issued the order to kill Yi Fei, the deans of the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard and the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard chose to remain silent at the same time. The martial emperors of the 2 sacred courtyards didn't make a move either. They just ordered their holy sons to deal with Yi Fei. It was obviously a case of loud thunder but little rain. The disciples of the 3 sacred courtyards were very dissatisfied. As the holy daughter with the most potential in the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard, Zhao Yu had already reached the half-emperor realm after 3 years of cultivation. Not long ago, she had challenged the holy son of the Heavenly Book Sacred Courtyard, and they had fought to a draw. Such sensational news made Zhao Yu immediately become the holy daughter of the heavenly book, sacred courtyard. She had a high position and power. Of course, she knew what had happened in the dragon head field immediately. Zhao Yu's expression became very strange. Is this guy a porcupine? Should I kill him before others make a move? Her expression became cold, but there was a corner of Zhao Yu's heart that was filled with softness. In the heavenly book Sacred Courtyard, Dongfang Yu's life was very difficult. Not long after he entered the sacred courtyard, he accidentally offended a follower of the Holy Sun. Since then, he had been suppressed. Recently, Dongfang Yu had been considering whether to lower his head and apologize to the Holy Sun in exchange for a peaceful life in the sacred courtyard. At this time, he saw the mission hall and saw the order to kill Yi Fei. The 3 sacred courtyards had issued the order at the same time. Dongfang Yu was stunned. Senior brother, what did Yi Fei do? Why are the 3 sacred courtyards chasing him at the same time? What else can he do? This guy is crazy. In the Dragon Head field, he killed Jin Po Bai, Chen Chongkong, and senior brother Feng Ba Dao. The Holy Sun has already said that he wants us to enter the Dragon Head field and find his whereabouts. If necessary, the Holy Sun will personally kill this demon. The senior brother who passed by said with righteous indignation. Dongfang Yu's heart was suddenly greatly shaken. Feng Ba Dao is dead? Yi Fei betrayed the 4 sacred courtyards and fell into the demon Dao? I don't believe it. Brother Yi is not that kind of person. He hurriedly continued to inquire. Soon, he knew the specific details of the matter, including the reason Yi Fei betrayed the sacred courtyards. A man should be strong, a man should fight, a man should kill. A man should never stop striving for self-improvement. After repeatedly recalling what Yi Fei had said when he suppressed Zhou Ming and the other 2, Dongfang Yu suddenly let out a long sigh. I finally understand why I am not as good as Brother Yi. Brother Yi, thank you for pointing me in the right direction. Originally, under the pressure of the heavenly strategy saint, Dongfang Yu had already decided to lower his head. But now, great courage and confidence appeared in him. At this time, a follower of the heavenly strategy saint walked over and arrogantly ordered Dongfang Yu, Northern Boxing Dog, right? Come with me. The Holy Sun has decided to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Redeem myself? Ha ha, I, Dongfang Yu, would rather die than lower my head to a group of villains like you. Get lost. Dongfang Yu suddenly exploded and beat the Holy Sun's follower into a dog's head. On the mountain peak where Yi Fei was cultivating, Xia Jun and Lin Tianjiao were packing up. Little Fatty and Guo Wang were also gloomy. Zhou Ming and the other 2 had already returned to the true martial sacred courtyard and brought back the news that Yi Fei had betrayed the sacred courtyard. After the initial shock and disbelief, Xia Jun decided to immediately go to the Dragon Head realm to find Yi Fei. We are brothers. We share riches and hardships together. Since Big Brother has left the sacred courtyard, there is no point for us to stay. This was the reason why Shanglua stopped Xia Jun from explaining. Lin Tianjiao, Little Fatty, and Guo Wang were also planning to leave. They all decided to take the risk and enter the Dragon Head realm to find Yi Fei. At this time, the old figure of the 3rd Dean silently came to the mountain peak and scolded them angrily. What are you doing? Yi Fei has left and you have to leave too. Do you really think we old guys can't tell right from wrong? Dean, you mean? Shanglua suddenly understood something. Yi Fei is not at fault in this matter. The fault lies with the 3 sacred academies. The fault lies with Zhou Ming and the other 2 good-for-nothings. Do you know why we made the competition between the sacred academies so cruel and unreasonable? Chapter 1247. Demon Saint, not far ahead should be where the most important spiritual vein of the Blood Demon Church is located. On a mountain peak in the Dragon Head realm, Yi Fei narrowed his eyes as he looked at a heavily guarded mountain peak in the distance. This mountain peak was not too far away from the Blood Demon Sect's headquarters. At the same time, it was also the most important mountain peak in the Blood Demon Sect. Spirit veins were rare in the Dragon Head realm. Any one of them was enough for demons to fight over. The reason Yi Fei knew about this spirit vein was all thanks to Hong Yu. After helping Hong Yu remove the Blood Demon Sect's curse, Hong Yu told Yi Fei everything she knew about the Blood Demon Sect. For example, this spirit vein used to belong to a small sect. Later, the blood progenitor of the Blood Demon Sect accidentally discovered that this spirit vein was extremely valuable. Therefore, he took it by force. Not only did he take the spirit vein, but he also destroyed the small sect. Hong Yu happened to be the remnant forces of that small sect. After the sect was destroyed, they were forced to join the Blood Demon Sect. However, the higher-ups of the Blood Demon Sect did not trust them. Instead, they were all transferred to the sect. In addition, they sent disciples who were absolutely loyal to the Blood Demon Sect to be responsible for guarding this place. Of course, the main reason Yi Fei did not go to the Blood Demon Sect's headquarters and came here instead was because Hong Yu told him that a blood progenitor of the Blood Demon Sect happened to be hiding in the spirit vein and cultivating wholeheartedly. Therefore, the Blood Demon Sect transferred a large number of elites to protect this mountain range from the invasion of other demons. Therefore, Yi Fei decided that before joining the Blood Demon Sect, he would first test the strength of the Blood Demon Sect. After all, he had entered the Tiger's Den alone. If he directly went to the Blood Demon Sect and asked about the secret of the Black Lotus, even a fool would know that there was something wrong with him. If the Blood Demon Sect had many powerful experts, they might even turn around and capture him. Therefore, Yi Fei decided to come here first to scout the Blood Demon Sect and the Blood Progenitor's strength. He thought as he walked. Soon, he approached the defensive perimeter. Seeing that an outsider had come in, a large group of Blood Demon Sect disciples immediately rushed over. "What are you doing?" "The Blood Demon Sect's forbidden area. Trespassers will die. I'll give you 3 breaths time to leave." Whoosh! Large groups of martial sacred demons rushed out from their hiding places. Judging from the number of them, it was obvious how important the spirit vein was to them. However, this might have something to do with the blood progenitor cultivating here. Yi Fei thought to himself. His footsteps didn't stop as he continued to walk inside. "I don't care what bullshit Blood Demon Sect you are. I can sense that there is a very powerful spirit vein here. It's very suitable for my cultivation. From now on, this area belongs to me, Devil Saint Yi Fei. If you don't want to die, get out of my sight." Yi Fei's face was cold and arrogant. His demonic aura was dense. Before he fell into the demonic path, Zhao Qianjun had warned him that if he had strength among the evil spirits, he had to show it. The fiercer he was, the more he could intimidate the other evil spirits. If he was still peaceful among the evil spirits, then there was something wrong with his brain. Therefore, Yi Fei looked like he was going to snatch the spirit vein. He didn't even blush when he gave himself the flashy name of Devil Saint. Since his master dared to call himself Devil Emperor, it didn't seem inappropriate for him to call himself Devil Saint. But how did these words sound in the ears of the Blood Demon Sect disciples? How did they stare at Yi Fei? How did they want to tear Yi Fei to pieces? "Devil Saint, you sure talk big. Yi Fei, you didn't even ask around about the strength of the Blood Demon Sect. How dare you come here to snatch our territory? If you know what's good for you, get out of here immediately. If you alarm the Blood Progenitor, you'll die without a complete corpse." A Blood Demon Sect protector sneered in response. He didn't suspect Yi Fei's motives. Firstly, Yi Fei was the public enemy of the 4 academies. The news that he had fallen into the demonic path had long spread throughout the Dragon Head world. Secondly, in the Dragon Head world, it was common for evil demons to snatch territory from each other. Since Yi Fei had become an evil demon, It was normal for him to snatch a territory as a cave abode. However, Yi Fei didn't know what was good for him. He came here to snatch the blood progenitor's spirit vein. That was too arrogant and ignorant. Sorry, I don't know how to get out of here. Please demonstrate for me. Yi Fei sneered and suddenly attacked. A huge sword light turned into a sword storm that instantly engulfed the surrounding blood demon sect disciples, including the protector. They spun wildly and screamed in pain. Bam! When the sword storm stopped, not a single blood demon sect disciple could stand in front of Yi Fei. They all fell to the ground and looked at Yi Fei with fear. What are you looking at? Can't you understand my words? From now on, this place belongs to me, Devil Saint. I'll give you 15 minutes to pack your things and get out of here. Yi Fei snorted and strode into the mountain range in the distance. This time, no one dared to stop him. However, just as Yi Fei was about to enter the mountain range that contained the spirit vein, there was a loud boom. An awe-inspiring aura suddenly came from the mountain range. Devil Saint, what an arrogant name! As the holy son of the blood demon sect, even I, Gao Chang, don't dare to use this name. How dare you, a cripple abandoned by the heavens and abandoned by the sacred academy, come to our blood demon sect? It's holy son Gao Chang. That's great. We're saved now. Holy son, he wants to snatch the spirit vein. You must stop him. The surrounding blood demon sect disciples were all excited. Yi Fei was also a little surprised. Gao Chang is the holy son of the blood demon sect? I wonder how you compare to the holy son of the sacred academy? Knowing that Yi Fei was here to stir up trouble, Gao Chang naturally wouldn't be polite and immediately mocked him. Humph, I can't compare to the holy sons of the 3 sacred academies, but compared to the trash sacred academies like the true martial sacred academy, I, Gao Chang, will kill whoever comes. Through these words, Yi Fei understood that the true martial sacred academy had declined to such an extent that even the small blood demon sect didn't put it in their eyes. Then, Yi Fei's anger was ignited. He didn't say anything and suddenly rushed towards Gao Chang. You're courting death. Gao Chang was furious. He wasn't convinced by Yi Fei's achievements in the blood sea level. Billowing blood chi formed a blood python and burst out from his body. The blood python was incomparably huge, and its body flickered with a mysterious metallic luster. It opened its snake mouth, and its sharp teeth made a rumbling sound as it bit the air. The most terrifying thing was that there were 8 kinds of profound meanings around the blood python. There were 8 kinds of profound meanings. No wonder Gao Chang is so arrogant. Just 8 kinds of profound meanings are enough to shake off many heavenly sons of the true martial sacred academy. Yi Fei nodded secretly, acknowledging Gao Chang's strength. Then, when the blood python opened its mouth and rushed in front of him, he roared. The life and death fist carried a total of 11 terrifying rays of light. It smashed the blood python's head into pieces on the spot. The whistling death fist turned into a hurricane and smashed towards Gao Chang behind him. Gao Chang blocked in horror, but the profound meanings released by Yi Fei were too terrifying. Chapter 1248. The Blood Ancestor Exits Seclusion. Gao Chang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His eyes widened in disbelief. He hadn't expected Yi Fei to be so powerful. Just one punch was enough to seriously injure him. Of course, this was because Yi Fei had held back. Otherwise, his punch would have been enough to kill Gao Chang. Humph, if I didn't need to sneak into the blood demon sect and find a way to dissolve the Black Lotus, I would have killed Gao Chang directly. Yi Fei had left the true martial sacred academy, but he was still angry at Gao Chang for looking down on the true martial sacred academy. This time, he had used a little more force. Seeing that even Gao Chang had been defeated, the disciples of the blood demon sect who were about to cheer for Gao Chang turned red. With great difficulty, they swallowed their words of encouragement. However, Gao Chang could clearly feel the change in the way the disciples looked at him. He had bragged so much just now, but in the end, he had been defeated in a few moves by Yi Fei. Embarrassed and angry, Gao Chang jumped up and roared, "Yi Fei, don't leave if you have the guts. I'll ask the blood ancestor to come out and deal with you." These words were exactly what Yi Fei wanted. His purpose in coming here was to test the blood ancestor's strength before deciding whether to sneak into the blood demon sect. He hurriedly urged impatiently, "Go, go. As long as the one who comes out isn't a good-for-nothing like you, I'll kill as many as the blood ancestor comes. From now on, the blood demon sect must also respect the demon saint." Yi Fei found a very valiant excuse to show mercy. He wanted to subdue the blood demon sect. The dignified holy son of the blood demon sect had been treated like a good-for-nothing by Yi Fei. Gao Chang was so angry that he almost bled. "Good, good. You have guts. I'd like to see how you kill the blood ancestor and subdue the blood demon sect." Filled with rage, Gao Chang stumbled into the mountain range and went straight to the place where the blood ancestor was in seclusion. He cried, "Master, you have to avenge your disciple." "What happened? Didn't I say that anyone who disturbs me while I'm cultivating must die?" Inside the cave, the blood ancestor awoke from his cultivation. His eyes flashed violently. Even though Gao Chang was his disciple, he still wanted to kill him. "Master, your disciple didn't mean to disturb you," said Gao Chang. "It's just that someone came to steal the spirit vein, and none of us are a match for him. He even said that he would kill as many of the blood ancestors as he could, and then subjugate the entire blood demon sect." Inside the cave, an extremely violent demonic aura was emitted. Then, an old man, who was as strong as a lion, rushed out angrily. "What did you say? In the Dragon Head realm, there is someone who dares to kill our blood ancestor. Who is that person? Where is he?" "That person is Yi Fei. He's just outside the mountain, bang!" Before Gao Chang could finish his sentence, the enraged blood ancestor had already transformed into a blood python, crushing countless trees and rocks as it rushed out. When it reached the outside of the mountain range, the blood python suddenly shrank and turned back into a bloody figure. The bloody figure gradually became clearer and turned back into the muscular old man. The old man was wearing a bloody robe. He stared at Yi Fei coldly and cursed with a frown. "Are the people of the blood demon sect useless? They can't even defeat a 7th-layer martial sacred." After cursing, the blood ancestor's eyes flickered coldly as he yelled, "Kid, who sent you here? I don't kill nameless people." The blood ancestor had obviously been in seclusion for a long time. He had never heard of Yi Fei's achievements. Seeing that Yi Fei was only a 7th-layer martial sacred, he assumed that Yi Fei was a scapegoat sent by some expert. After understanding the blood ancestor's thoughts, Yi Fei could not help but smile bitterly. "It seems like my cultivation is still too low. I have to make a breakthrough when I have the time. Otherwise, all the old men will be shouting at me. You must be that bullshit blood ancestor. You are already old. Your blood demon sect is too backward. If you don't want to die, bring your subordinates and join me, the demon saint, as my lackey," Yi Fei said proudly. His words made Gao Chang, who ran out after him, so scared that his legs began to tremble. "There are a lot of arrogant demons, but I have never seen one as arrogant as you. Since you have disturbed my cultivation, I will take your life." "Blood python strangle!" Bang! The blood ancestor snorted coldly. He was not angry at Yi Fei's arrogant words. Instead, he was full of murderous intent. He opened his palm, and the qi and blood in his body turned into a blood python, biting toward Yi Fei. However, this blood python was much more powerful than Gao Chang's blood python. Its body alone was 10 feet long. It was like a real vicious beast. It opened its mouth and was about to swallow its prey. Almost in the blink of an eye, the blood python arrived in front of Yi Fei. Just as the blood python raised its neck and was about to swallow Yi Fei finally moved. He launched a life and death fist. The terrifying fist of death with endless battle intent and murderous intent suddenly punched into the blood python's mouth. A transparent hole appeared on the blood python's head. A serious look flashed across the blood ancestor's face. He said in a deep voice, "You are only a 7th layer martial sacred, but you can fight someone 7 levels above you. No wonder you are so arrogant. Unfortunately, you are facing our blood ancestor, not those weak early-stage martial emperors. Go to hell." Boom! The mountain range shook as the blood ancestor's aura rose, as if it was going to collapse at any time. Yi Fei suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of danger. Indeed, the 7th layer divine war Dao allowed him to fight someone 7 levels above him like a powerful bloodline cultivator. However, he could only deal with early-stage martial emperors. When a cultivator reached the martial emperor realm, there were no longer any levels. There were only realms. For example, early stage, mid-stage, late stage, and perfected. Above the perfected realm, one would be a martial emperor. However, as the Tianwu continent had experienced the calamity of the human and devil race, the martial Dao had declined. The quasi-emperor realm was the limit. Similarly, if Yi Fei wanted to challenge a mid-stage martial emperor, he would have to fight someone 8 levels above him. Late stage 9 levels. Perfected 10 levels. As for a quasi-emperor realm, unless Yi Fei could break through the limit of the divine war Dao and enter the fiend god realm, a quasi-emperor realm would turn him into ashes. I didn't expect the blood ancestor to be a mid-stage martial emperor. This is going to be troublesome. Yi Fei was shocked. When he saw the blood python pouncing toward him again, he quickly activated the Taiji domain. Only by relying on the power of the domain could he remain undefeated in front of the mid-stage martial emperor realm blood ancestor. However, it would be wishful thinking to defeat the blood ancestor like this. Yi Fei couldn't help but feel bitter. He knew that he was still a frog in a well, looking down on the heroes of the world. However, he didn't know that the blood ancestor was shocked to the core. Originally, Yi Fei wasn't a bloodline cultivator, but he could fight someone 7 levels above him. This already shocked the blood ancestor. Now, Yi Fei was even using the power of the domain in front of him. The blood ancestor was undoubtedly shocked. Chapter 1249. Origin of the Blood Demon Boom. The blood python disappeared, and the blood ancestor sent out a bloody hand to grab the Tai Chi domain. 10 terrifying demonic flames burned on his bloody hand. Those weren't demonic flames, but the intents of the blood ancestor. Furthermore, they were all related to blood. When these 10 intents overlapped, everyone present felt as if their blood was going to be melted by this hand, let alone Yi Fei. Yi Fei also felt the blood in his body become restless, as if it was going to burn. He was secretly shocked by how terrifying the blood ancestor was, but he was also glad that he hadn't charged into the blood demon sect on impulse. He didn't have time to think. He could only use all his strength to activate his 11 domains. A huge yin and yang tai chi shattered the void and collided with the bloody hand. Boom! The bloody hand and tai chi collided and shattered at the same time. The shock waves from the explosion formed a terrifying hurricane that sent Gao Chang and the others rolling on the ground. They had no choice but to get up and retreat from the valley. Yi Fei also felt his body shake violently. He retreated continuously, injured to a certain extent. Although my intents and domains can block the blood ancestor's attack, there is still a gap between my cultivation level and his. I don't want to admit it, but I can't defeat the blood ancestor right now. Yi Fei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, feeling defeated. He had been invincible all this time. Even when facing Jin Pabai, he could escape unscathed. However, when facing the powerful blood ancestor, he didn't have a good solution. Unless he dared to break through to the 8th level of the War God Tao and War Demon Tao, he would attract a heavenly tribulation. However, when he thought about how the heavenly tribulation was able to destroy a martial emperor-level demonic god like the Blood Demon, even though the Blood Demon was suppressed and unable to unleash its full strength, it was clear how terrifying the heavenly tribulation triggered by the despair energy was. Yi Fei didn't dare to risk his life again unless he had no other way out. Thus, he could only retreat and distance himself from the Blood Demon. Junior, you are very strong. If you are given a few more years to grow, perhaps even our blood ancestor will not be your opponent. However, I will not give you that chance. Today you must die. The Blood Demon sneered, but his heart was shocked to the extreme. There was even a trace of fear in his heart. It was this fear that made him not dare to give Yi Fei another chance to grow. Feeling Blood Ancestor's murderous intent, Yi Fei sneered. That's not necessarily true. Your realm is higher than mine, but my domain and Upanishads are better than yours. If we really fight, both of us will suffer. So what if both sides are injured? I have so many martial sages under my command. Are they just decorations? The Blood Ancestor pressed on, not giving Yi Fei a chance to escape. Master, let me help you. Gao Chong saw an opportunity and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He rushed over with a group of Blood Demon sect martial sages. Scram! Whoever dares to approach, don't blame this Yi for unleashing his demonic nature. Roar! Yi Fei saw that the probing was about done. If he didn't show his trump card now, it would really be a fight to the death. He finally made up his mind and removed the suppression on the Black Lotus in his body. The Black Lotus suddenly moved. It spun wildly and released an endless demonic aura, trying to force Yi Fei into a demonic state. This feeling was no different from stripping away one's consciousness and tearing one's soul apart. Even if Yi Fei's willpower was as strong as iron, he still couldn't help but let out a terrifying roar. Boom! The sky turned pitch black. Only the boundless demonic aura surrounded Yi Fei. Gao Chong and the others hadn't even gotten close, but they were already trembling under this demonic aura. They exclaimed in horror, "The demonic aura of the Blood Ancestor! Why does he have the same aura as the Blood Ancestor? The Blood Ancestor? How can this kid be the Blood Ancestor too?" The most shocked person was the Blood Ancestor himself. He could swear that there were only 3 Blood Ancestors in this generation. What was going on with Yi Fei? Suddenly, the Blood Ancestor thought of 2 possibilities. Either Yi Fei was the illegitimate son of the other 2 Blood Ancestors and had also inherited the demonic blood, or Yi Fei, like their ancestors, had gained the recognition of the Blood Demon and obtained the Blood Demon origin. If it was the former, it would be fine, but if it was the latter, the Blood Ancestor shuddered at the thought. He no longer dared to attack Yi Fei. Instead, he immediately changed from a ferocious look to a smiling face. He said to Yi Fei regretfully, "Brother Yi Fei, please stop. We are all brothers of the same origin. Let's not cross each other's path. Stop it. Stop my ass. Once I become demonic, I can't control it. There's no other way except to perish together with you." Yi Fei pretended to be furious. His eyes gradually turned blood-red. His words revealed 2 things. First, he couldn't control the demonic aura in his body. Second, if the Blood Ancestor didn't help him control it, he would simply perish together with the Blood Ancestor. The Blood Ancestor was also a shrewd person. How could he not understand Yi Fei's intentions? Other than secretly cursing him for being shameless, he didn't have the guts to attack Yi Fei again until he was sure of Yi Fei's identity and purpose. The Blood Ancestor could only laugh dryly. Haha, so junior brother doesn't know how to control the demonic aura. That's easy. Listen to this chant and quickly suppress it. F***ck, if I don't hurry up and suppress it, am I really going to risk my life with you? Yi Fei cursed inwardly. However, after this test, he realized that this group of blood ancestors might really have a way to dissolve the Black Lotus. Thus, he decided to use the chant given by the blood ancestor and try to activate the Black Lotus. The crazily spinning Black Lotus in his body actually calmed down under the effect of the chant. The billowing demonic aura also disappeared from Yi Fei's body. It actually worked. Yi Fei was pleasantly surprised. He felt that coming here to find the blood ancestor was the right choice. However, the blood ancestor was frightened. He walked up and laughed dryly. Haha, of course. We are all humans. It's inevitable that we will reject the blood of a demon god. This chant is specially used to suppress the demonic aura. By the way, junior brother, how did you become the blood ancestor? The blood ancestor first tried to get closer to Yi Fei and then immediately began to fish for information. Yi Fei sneered and said, I was unlucky. I accidentally entered an ancient ruin and was inexplicably captured by a golden Buddha. He forced a black lotus into my body and then threw me out. What? It wasn't a black lotus, but demonic blood. What? A black lotus has already been born in your body? The blood ancestor was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. They were filled with crazy jealousy and envy. Junior brother, did the golden Buddha tell you anything? At this point, the blood ancestor actually felt nervous and afraid. Seeing his expression, Yi Fei was even more certain that the blood ancestor and the blood demon had a deep relationship. Then, Yi Fei pretended to be shocked and looked at the blood ancestor in surprise. What did you call me just now? Junior brother? The chant you gave me just now actually suppressed the demonic aura in my body. What's going on? Can your blood ancestor dissolve the black lotus in my body? The blood ancestor was very dissatisfied with Yi Fei's change of topic. He laughed dryly and said, Haha, junior brother, the black lotus is a good thing. It means that the demonic blood in your body has completely merged with your body. Only the demonic aura of the demonic blood is a big problem. However, it's not impossible to solve. Senior brother, please save me. Without waiting for the blood ancestor to finish speaking, Yi Fei couldn't wait and hurriedly cupped his hands to ask for help. He looked as if he had been tortured to the point of insanity. The blood ancestor was secretly happy, but he pretended to be hesitant. Junior brother, the Black Lotus is a top secret in the Blood Demon sect. However, you're not a member of the Blood Demon sect. This, Yi Fei's expression suddenly became very ugly. All kinds of complicated emotions appeared on his face. In the end, he sighed dejectedly and said, I understand. As long as you can solve my problem, I'm willing to join the Blood Demon sect. Haha, it's the Blood Demon sect's honor that junior brother can join us. From now on, you're the fourth blood ancestor of the Blood Demon sect. Your status is equal to mine. Come over and pay your respects to the fourth blood ancestor. Chapter 1250. Scheming. I thought it would take some effort to join the Blood Demon sect, but the blood ancestor let me in so easily. He even made me the fourth blood ancestor. There's no such thing as a free lunch. The blood ancestor definitely doesn't have good intentions. Yi Fei sneered in his heart. However, he had originally wanted to sneak into the Blood Demon sect and obtain the method to dissolve the Black Lotus. The blood ancestor was scheming against him, but he was also scheming against the blood ancestor. Yi Fei wasn't particularly worried. Greetings, fourth blood ancestor. At that moment, a group of guardians and disciples of the Blood Demon sect came forward and bowed respectfully to Yi Fei. They didn't seem to care that the two sides were still at daggers drawn. Instead, they felt that this was normal. Yi Fei also felt that this was strange at first. Later, he realized that most evil demons had strange personalities. One moment they called each other brothers. The next moment they could stab each other in the back. This was also the reason why the blood ancestor had fought Yi Fei so fiercely in the beginning and now called Yi Fei senior brother. The special environment of the Dragon Head realm had created this group of evil demons. Yi Fei could only do as the Romans did and accept the greetings of the blood demon sect members. Only Gao Chang had an ugly expression. The enemy who had just defeated him had now become the fourth blood ancestor. Anyone would be unhappy with such a high position and power. Moreover, as the disciple of the blood ancestor and the holy son of the blood demon sect, Gao Chang didn't have the blood demon curse in his body. This made him not particularly respectful to Yi Fei. Instead, he was slightly dissatisfied and provoked him. The blood ancestor noticed this and glanced coldly at Gao Chang. Then, he apologized to Yi Fei. This disciple has been spoiled by me. Junior brother Yi, please punish him as you wish. Senior brother Shui, what are you saying? As a senior, how can I be so calculative with a junior? Gao Chang has a good nature and is very talented. He will definitely become a pillar of our blood demon sect in the future. Yi Fei's face was full of praise as he looked at Gao Chang with the eyes of a senior looking at a junior. However, Gao Chang was already in his 50s, while Yi Fei was only in his early 20s. How could he have the nerve to say that Gao Chang was still a child? Blood Hangman wasn't the only one who felt extremely awkward when he heard this. None of the blood demon sect disciples around him had a strange expression on their faces. Gao Chang was so angry that his face turned red and he spat out blood on the spot. Unfortunately, his strength and status weren't as good as Yi Fei's, so Gao Chang could only continue to hold back his anger. After the introduction, Yi Fei learned that there were 3 blood ancestors in the blood demon sect. They were Shui Yin, Shui Wan, and Shui Sha. The 3 of them were senior and junior brothers. Like Yi Fei, they also had the demonic blood of the blood demons in their bodies. However, they hadn't reached the level where they could condense a black lotus. This was also the reason why Shui Sha was so jealous when he heard that Yi Fei had a black lotus in his body. Seeing that he had already pulled Yi Fei into the blood demon sect, Shui Sha immediately began to ask around. Junior brother Yi, now that we are all on the same side, this isn't the place to talk. Come back to the blood demon sect with me. We will tell you whatever you want to know. I think it's more like you want to know something. Let me spit it all out. Yi Fei sneered in his heart. He had already experienced the strength of the blood ancestor. He would be stupid to go to the blood demon sect's lair. After all, there were 2 blood ancestors there. He was confident that he could escape unscathed from Shui Sha, but he wasn't confident that he could escape unscathed from the joint attack of 3 blood ancestors. He immediately threw out an excuse. Senior brother Shui, it's not that I don't want to visit my 2 brothers, but I'm busy breaking through my realm now and suppressing the demonic nature of the Black Lotus. Senior brother, how about this? Tell me how to dissolve the Black Lotus. After I dissolve the Black Lotus and break through my realm, we can return to the blood demon sect together. How about that? When Blood Hangman heard this, he almost turned hostile on the spot and fought with Yi Fei. Yi Fei could even say such shameless words. If Blood Hangman agreed to it, he would be a real fool. Shui Sha was relieved when he vaguely understood that Yi Fei came to dissolve the demonic nature of the Black Lotus. Only the 3 of us know how to dissolve the demonic nature of the Black Lotus. As long as this kid has a request for us, I don't believe that we can't find out the origin of the demonic blood. Shui Sha nodded with a smile. So junior brother is in a hurry to break through your realm, so you broke into this spirit vein. Alright, then I'll wait for you to break through your realm, and we'll return to the blood demon sect together. You can use this spirit vein as you wish. Yi Fei was pleasantly surprised that Shui Sha was so generous. He thanked him repeatedly. Senior brother Shui, you're too kind to me. It's really my fortune to be able to join the blood demon sect. I want to use this spirit vein to break through now. Yi Fei was indeed in a hurry. He had killed Jean Po Bai and the other two, and obtained a large number of spirit stones. It was just that he hadn't found a suitable place to cultivate in peace. Shueisha laughed heartily when he heard Yi Fei's words. Haha, since junior brother Yi is in such a hurry, I won't disturb you. You can enter my cave residence to cultivate now. When you break through, we'll return to the Blood Demon sect. After Shueisha said that, he really gave his cave residence to Yi Fei to cultivate in. It was as if he had completely regarded Yi Fei as a senior brother. Yi Fei didn't refuse. He walked into Shueisha's cave residence with his head held high and his chest puffed out. Gao Chong and the others were shocked. The fourth blood ancestor really didn't treat them as outsiders. Master, does this kid really have a death wish, or does he have something to rely on? Gao Chong secretly asked Shueisha when he saw Yi Fei enter. Shueisha's smiling face stiffened and there was a faint murderous intent. Someone who can kill the emperor of the 3 academies and escape unscathed must have something to rely on. How dare he speak to me like this? Master, are you really going to accept him as the 4th blood ancestor? Gao Chong suddenly became anxious. He didn't want Yi Fei to address him as a child every day. Shueisha also looked a little hesitant. On the one hand, he definitely didn't want the 3 blood ancestors of the Blood Demon sect to become the 4th blood ancestor. However, Yi Fei could condense a black lotus as soon as he obtained the demon blood. There was only one possibility. The demon blood that Yi Fei had obtained was personally bestowed by the Blood Demon. The ancestors of Shueisha and the other 2 had also obtained such demon blood. The price they had paid was that the ancestors of the Shui family had worked hard to rescue the Blood Demon. Therefore, after discovering that Yi Fei possessed the demon blood and had even turned into a black lotus, Shueisha's attitude changed drastically. Not only did he accept Yi Fei into the Blood Demon sect, but he also admitted that Yi Fei was the 4th blood ancestor on the spot. Everything I'm doing is for the sake of stabilizing this person and buying time. Gao Chong, you guys stay here and watch over him. Don't let Yi Fei leave. I'll return to the Blood Demon sect first. When Shueisha instructed Gao Chong, he reckoned that Yi Fei had already started cultivating. He immediately set up several sets of powerful trapping array formations around the cave abode. Then, he sneered proudly. Humph! If you don't follow me back to the Blood Demon sect, I'll invite my 2 senior brothers over as well. When the time comes, we'll make you spit out everything you have, regardless of what you're relying on. After saying that, Shueisha quickly rushed into the sky and rushed back to the Blood Demon sect as fast as he could. Gao Chong also led some people and immediately surrounded the cave abode. Any movement in the cave abode would alert them, but they were simply overthinking it. After entering the cave abode, Yi Fei had no intention of going out at all. Shueisha probably tricked me into entering the cave abode to trap me and then go back and invite the other 2 blood ancestors to deal with me together. Unfortunately, he miscalculated. Chapter 1251. Disloyal Heart. Following Yi Fei's words, a pair of bright eyes quickly appeared in the beast-mark space. Xiao Chao was too sensitive to spiritual energy. With such a huge spirit vein in front of him, it was impossible not to attract Xiao Chao's attention. He dragged the dragon turtle and ran out. Xiao Chao looked around expectantly. Xiao Chao, stop looking. This spirit vein is ours. You can absorb as much as you want, Yi Fei said with a smile. Since the blood ancestor dared to scheme against him, Yi Fei naturally wouldn't be polite to him. He pretended to be tricked into coming in just to gain the Blood Massacre's trust and make the Blood Massacre think that he could trap him. Now that the Blood Massacre had left, Yi Fei naturally wouldn't have any reservations. He pointed at the huge spirit vein in the distance and instructed the dragon turtle. Turtles are best at digging holes. Big Black, go over there now and secretly dig a tunnel under the spirit vein. Whether or not we can hide from the people outside will depend on your performance. Roar. Hearing that Yi Fei actually treated it as an ordinary turtle, the dragon turtle was very displeased. Its face immediately darkened, and it revealed a look of disdain and unyieldingness. Yi Fei was already prepared for this. He pointed at the spirit vein and said, "You can also eat the spirit stones dug out from it. The prerequisite is that you dig a hole and don't alarm the people outside." Hearing this, the dragon turtle's disdain turned into extreme confidence. It even used its claws to dig a big hole in the spirit vein, indicating that turtles were indeed very good at digging holes. With the help of the dragon turtle, this hard spirit vein was quickly broken open like an iceberg. If Yi Fei had done it, the spirit vein would have already made a loud noise and cracked the mountain. However, vicious beasts were different. Many vicious beasts were good at digging holes. Furthermore, the dragon turtle was a vicious demon. It was born with a pair of dragon claws that made it possible for the dragon turtle to silently dig the spirit vein. As expected of senior brother Zhao, he knows the evil demon like the back of his hand. Not only did he calculate the blood ancestor's reaction, he also thought of using the dragon turtle to empty the spirit vein. In this way, even if the blood ancestor set up 100 formations outside, he wouldn't be able to trap me, let alone 10. As the dragon turtle kept digging the spirit vein, a large amount of spiritual liquid flowed out from the spirit vein. I didn't expect this to be a complete spirit vein preserved from ancient times. It was different from the current spirit veins. Spiritual veins were all abandoned from ancient times. The spirit stones and spiritual qi contained in them were simply incomparable to those in ancient times. The dragon vein in front of Yi Fei was different. This was a hidden and complete spirit vein that had not been discovered even in the ancient era. Such spiritual veins are priceless treasures to the 4 saint colleges. I didn't expect the blood demon sect to have one. No wonder the blood ancestor is so powerful. The dragon was the blood of the blood massacre of the blood of the blood of the blood of the 10 of the blood of the hymn. I can't leave this spirit vein to the blood demon sect. Even if I can't destroy it, I must absorb all the spiritual liquid in it. Yi Fei instantly made a decision. Spiritual qi could be turned into spirit stones, and spiritual liquid could be turned into fairy crystals. If the blood of the blood ancestor discovered that there was still spiritual liquid in the spirit vein, he might even reach the late stage of the martial emperor realm. In that case, it would be even more impossible for Yi Fei to obtain the solution to the Black Lotus from the blood of the blood ancestor. Xiao Qiao, let's each take half and absorb all the spiritual liquid, Yi Fei said to Xiao Qiao in a deep voice. Xiao Qiao was very distressed. If she had known that there was so much spiritual liquid here, she wouldn't have secretly eaten the fairy crystals in the beast mark space. After that, Xiao Qiao sat cross-legged on top of the spirit vein and began to work hard to absorb the spiritual liquid that gushed out of the spirit vein. Yi Fei didn't dare to be as exaggerated as Xiao Qiao and eat the elixir as if it was rice. If he wanted to absorb the spiritual liquid, he would have to first refine it and turn it into spiritual qi. Then, he would have to turn the spiritual qi into true essence in his body to strengthen his primordial spirit. It's a good thing that I don't have much except for my primordial divinity. I wonder how far my cultivation level will rise with such a large spirit vein. Looking at the time, Blood Hangman should have already returned to the Blood Demon sect. Yi Fei was excited, but he was also worried. Given the Blood Progenitor's speed, it would take at least a day to return to the Blood Demon sect. In reality, Blood Hangman, who was rushing back at full speed, only spent 3/4 of the time to rush back to the Blood Demon sect. He even rushed directly to the place where Xue Yin and Xuelwan were cultivating in seclusion. Senior brothers, we're in trouble. We might be in for a great calamity. Xue Sha's voice was very loud. Xue Yin and Xuelwan, who were cultivating in seclusion, all rushed out quickly. Blood Hangman, weren't you cultivating in seclusion? What could have happened? As the leader of the Blood Demon sect, Shui-Yin had a dignified aura. Shuelwan, on the other hand, was graceful and elegant. He looked more like a scholar. Blood Hangman's combat strength was strong, and he was also the bravest of the three. Shui-Yin and Shuelwan were shocked when they saw Blood Hangman's frightened face. They hurriedly asked what had happened. Blood Hangman panted as he told them about Yi Fei. What? The fourth blood progenitor? That's impossible. When the blood demon bestowed the demon blood to our ancestor, didn't he say that he could only bestow the demon blood to 3 people? Shui Yin's expression changed drastically. This news was too shocking. That's because the blood demon needed our ancestor to rescue him. However, after so many years, we still haven't been able to rescue the blood demon. It seems like the demon god has started to suspect us. That's why he started to choose a new servant to rescue him, Shuelwan analyzed gloomily. Shui Yin's and Blood Hangman's expressions changed at the same time. They didn't doubt Shuelwan's judgment. In fact, their ancestor had been guilty since the time of their ancestor. They had only agreed to help the blood demon because they wanted to obtain the demon blood and possess a special bloodline. However, the blood demon was also cunning. When he bestowed the demon blood, he also cast the blood demon curse in the demon blood. The blood progenitor used this curse to control a large number of martialists and turn them into blood slaves to attack the Sky Dragon Treasure Temple and rescue the blood demon. However, as the blood demon sect grew stronger, the blood progenitor's ambition also started to grow. If they rescued the blood demon, it would be fine if the blood demon could remove the curse. However, if the blood demon went back on his words, they, who had been cursed, would become the blood demon's slaves. Their lives would no longer be in their own hand. Of course, the blood progenitor, who was in a high position, wouldn't tolerate such a thing. Therefore, they gradually started to disobey. Unless they couldn't delay any longer, these blood progenitors would risk their lives to enter the Sky Dragon Treasure Temple before the curse took effect and pretend to rescue the blood demon. Of course, this was a secret that only the blood progenitor knew. They secretly betrayed the blood demon, but on the surface, they constantly proclaimed that the blood demon was supreme. Of course, as the representative of the blood demon, the blood progenitor's status was even higher. This was also the reason why Blood Hangman didn't dare to attack Yi Fei after discovering that he had the demon blood. He even had to admit that Yi Fei was the fourth blood progenitor. Chapter 1252. Eighth level of the Martial Saint Realm. The 3 blood ancestors would never have thought that the powerful devil god that they revered had already been annihilated by the heavenly tribulation. Therefore, they discovered that the blood devil had taken in another servant and had given Yi Fei the Black Lotus to perfectly fuse with the devil blood. They were all panicking in their hearts. They were even more afraid that the blood devil would come after them once he escaped. Blood Massacre said with a terrified expression, "Senior apprentice brothers, what should we do? The blood devil suddenly created the 4th blood ancestor without our permission. Is he really planning to settle the score with us?" Settling the score? How can it be that simple? The blood devil has been suppressed since the ancient times. Even if he wants to settle the score, he must first escape. Shui-Yin shook his head coldly. Only his voice was trembling. In the blood demon sect, they were high and mighty. In the eyes of the devil god, they were only ants. Sensing their fear, Shuelwan thought for a while and said coldly, "The blood devil hasn't come out yet. What are we afraid of? Moreover, we didn't betray the blood devil publicly. Don't forget that our ancestors all chose to rush into the heavenly dragon treasure temple to save the blood devil. Shuelwan, do you think the blood devil is stupid? Our devil blood has the blood devil's curse that has been passed down for generations. Those ancestors who went in couldn't suppress the curse in their bodies. They had no choice but to take the risk and go in to die. At the same time, they also gave our master an explanation that they didn't betray him. You've been our master for so many years. Do you think he can't see our goal? Shui-yin said coldly. If Yi Fei heard this, he would definitely be shocked. So those who were refined into bone devils by the golden Buddhas in the temple were the blood ancestors of the past. Shui-yin's words made the three fall into a long silence. This was also the effect that Yi Fei wanted. If these blood ancestors knew that the blood devil was dead, Yi Fei would be walking into a trap. Most importantly, these blood ancestors didn't have the guts to enter the ancient temple. Naturally, they didn't know that the blood devil was dead. At this time, Yi Fei suddenly stood out as the new blood ancestor. This would definitely make the three blood ancestors suspicious and not dare to act rashly. Blood Massacre broke the silence and asked, "Senior apprentice brothers, how should we deal with this Yi Fei? Should I respect him, or should I just—" He made a beheading gesture which made Shui-yin jump in fright. He quickly waved his hand and said, "No, we can't kill this Yi Fei. He is a servant personally chosen by Master, just like our ancestors. If we kill him, Master will definitely not let us go once he escapes." Due to Yi Fei's appearance, Shui-yin, a sect master martial monarch, had subconsciously started to treat the blood demon as his master. He was afraid that the blood demon would escape and seek him out for revenge. Shui-yin wasn't the only one who was worried. Shui-sha's expression was also extremely ugly. In the end, both of their gazes landed on Xuelwan, who was the smartest among them. "Xuelwan, you have a lot of ideas. What do you think we should do?" Luan Shueside shook his head and said, "Blood devil is the master, and we are all slaves. Once the blood devil escapes and discovers our betrayal, we will be killed by the blood devil just like our ancestors who entered the heavenly dragon treasure temple." "Xuelwan, you said that our ancestors died at the hands of the blood demon. What evidence do you have?" Shui-yin and Shuesha were shocked. Xuelwan smiled coldly and said, "Useless slaves. Not only were they unable to save their master, but they also only went in to beg their master for help when the curse flared up. If you were in his shoes, what would you do?" Of course, killing such a slave would be the best. Shui-yin and Shuesha thought to themselves viciously. Then, their faces turned pale. Xuelwan's face was also slightly pale as he continued, "Therefore we can't kill this Yi Fei. If we kill him, we will be betraying the blood demon completely. The blood demon won't even need to do anything. The demon blood's curse will take our lives. Of course, we can't let this Yi Fei go either. Dozens of generations of blood ancestors have failed to save the blood demon. If Yi Fei succeeds, we will all die regardless of whether we betrayed him or not." Xuelwan's heart was in a mess as he said this. It wasn't that he wasn't smart enough. The only thing he hadn't thought of was that the blood demon would be destroyed by Yi Fei using the heaven's tribulation. Even Zhao Qianjun hadn't thought of this. Therefore, when he found out that Yi Fei wanted to sneak into the blood demon sect to find a way to remove the Black Lotus, Zhao Qianjun immediately helped Yi Fei come up with a series of plans. This plan indeed made the three blood ancestors flustered. Xuelwan's words put Shui-yin and Shuesha in a difficult position. "Xuelwan, what do you think we should do?" "It's very simple. There are two ways. First, we will atone for our mistakes and cooperate fully with Yi Fei to rescue the blood demon at all costs. Second, we will control Yi Fei and dig out the Black Lotus in his body before the blood demon escape. The ancestors said that the Black Lotus is the key to breaking free from the blood demon's control." Xuelwan's eyes flashed coldly. Shui-yin and Shuesha's eyes flashed with a crazed glint. Shuesha grinned maliciously. "I have already tricked that kid into cultivating in the cave abode. As long as the three of us work together, that kid will definitely be no match for us." Rumble. In the cave abode, Yi Fei closed his eyes and cultivated with all his might. Time was very tight. It will only take 2 days to go back and forth from here to the Blood Demon sect. If Senior Brother Zhao's speculation is correct, the 3 blood ancestors will definitely come here in 2 days and force me to reveal the secret of the Blood Demon. In other words, he only had 2 days to cultivate in the spiritual vein. In these 2 days, he had to break through to the next level. Then, he would have the ability to fight with a martial king in the intermediate stage. Thinking of this, Yi Fei did not hesitate anymore. Just as the dragon turtle dug out all the spiritual veins, he suddenly released all of his primordial spirit. The 8 primordial spirits started to crazily absorb the spiritual liquid that was gushing out from the spiritual vein. Xiao Qiao did the same. His belly was round from eating, but he still refused to give up on collecting the delicious spiritual liquid. While Yi Fei was cultivating, Xiao Qiao took out large and small water jars and moved the excess spiritual liquid into the beast mark space one by one. He planned to drink it slowly as a beverage in the future. The most exaggerated one was the dragon turtle. As it dug the hole, it opened its mouth everywhere. It ate any spirit stones it saw and drank any spirit liquid it saw. A huge spirit vein was emptied by the dragon turtle in just 1 day. A large amount of spirit stones and spirit liquid were swallowed by the dragon turtle's mouth in 1 gulp. When the dragon turtle emptied the spiritual vein, its entire body was so fat that it looked like a ball. It could not even stand on the ground with its 4 limbs. It could only call for help in a panic. Yi Fei and Xiao Qiao's faces darkened at the same time. This was a complete spiritual vein. In the end, half of it was destroyed by the dragon turtle's black mouth. Fortunately, they also gained a lot. Xiao Qiao drank until his entire body became fat. However, there were still no signs of him growing up. Yi Fei successfully used the spiritual liquid here to break through to the 8th level of the Martial Saint realm. If there was enough time, he could definitely break through to the 9th level of the Martial Saint realm. However, there was not enough time. Chapter 1253. Refined Corpse Puppet, Junior Martial Brother. According to my understanding of evil spirits, the Blood Ancestor will definitely set up countless killing formations to trap you inside the cave to prevent you from escaping. Once the other Blood Ancestors arrive, they will force you to spit out the Blood Demon's secret. At this time, you must not act rashly. Many of the evil spirit's formations are connected to the heart's blood. Once you break the formation, the Blood Ancestor will sense it. Then, Senior Martial Brother, what should I do? It's very simple. Dig a hole. The dragon turtle beside you is a fierce demon with dragon claws. It can silently dig through the spirit vein. The evil spirit's formations can only seal the cave, but not the spirit vein. Because of the spirit vein, you can't set up formations. If you dig through the spirit vein, you will be able to escape without anyone noticing. But what if the Blood Ancestor is waiting outside when I get out? Won't I be exposed? Yi Fei asked again. Zhao Qianjun laughed boldly, his body brimming with confidence. Evil spirits are suspicious. The Blood Demon is not an ordinary demon god, but the foundation of the Blood Demon sect. If the Blood Ancestor has a guilty conscience, he will definitely return personally after trapping you and tell the other Blood Ancestors. He will definitely not trust anyone else. At that time, your chance will come. Yi Fei was extremely excited as he recalled Zhao Qianjuan's flawless plan before he left. The people of the Zhao family are indeed born extraordinary. Even that old witch, the Empress Dowager, boasted that her plans were flawless and that she understood people's hearts. TSK. With Senior Martial Brother Zhao's chance, I've already succeeded halfway in infiltrating the Blood Demon sect. After successfully climbing out of the cave under the spirit vein, Yi Fei narrowed his eyes and looked not too far away. Gao Chang was still leading people to guard the entrance of the cave, as if they were facing a great enemy. Gao Chang had even checked the array formation several times to see if Yi Fei had discovered any traces of being trapped and breaking the array formation. With Senior Marshal Brother Zhao's plan, I successfully entered the Blood Demon sect. Now I have to rely on myself to find a way to dissolve the Black Lotus. Kill. While Gao Chang and the others were unprepared, Yi Fei suddenly rushed out. He raised his sword and slashed down, killing the 2 Blood Demon sect disciples at the outermost perimeter. The remaining people also turned pale with fright. How is that possible? Wasn't the 4th blood ancestor trapped in the cave? Gao Chang was even more furious. Yi Fei, what are you trying to do? Of course it's to kill. 8 Division Heavenly Dragon. Roar, roar, roar. The 8 notes of the Heavenly Dragon resounded through the void. The golden body of Buddhism was indeed very effective in restraining evil spirits. Under the pressure of the Heavenly Dragon, the remaining disciples of the Blood Demon sect did not have the ability to resist. They were already stunned by the 8 notes of the Heavenly Dragon. Those with weak minds had their souls destroyed and fell to the ground. Only Gao Chang, as the holy son of the Blood Demon sect, could still barely manage to activate the Blood Devil art to resist the assault of the Heavenly Dragon's 8 sounds. However, even at his peak, Gao Chang had not been a match for Yi Fei's fist, let alone now that Yi Fei had broken through to the 8th level of the Martial Saint realm, and had even launched a sudden sneak attack. Boom! The 8 Heavenly Dragons only slammed towards Gao Chang viciously. Gao Chang was already screaming miserably as he fell to the ground, heavily injured. Fear also flashed in his eyes. Don't kill me, Lord Blood Ancestor. I surrender. I am willing to be your slave. Gao Chang begged for mercy, a cold light flashing in his eyes. All right, I agree. Yi Fei nodded happily, directly condensing a fist of death, cutting off all signs of life for Gao Chang. You! Gao Chang's eyes widened in hatred. He really wanted to curse out loud. You still want to kill me after agreeing to be your slave? What? I did agree to be your slave, but I did not say that I would not take your life. Still, don't worry. I will bring you back to life, starting a new life. Yi Fei sighed. If not for the fact that he really had no other choice, he would not have wanted to use the secret arts of the Hall of Life and Death. It was just that if he did not do that, he would not have been able to successfully enter the Blood Demon sect and find a way to deal with the Black Lotus. Forget it. This is all because the Blood Ancestor schemed against me first. The third Dean also told me that there is absolutely no mercy in the Dragon Head realm. Brother Gao, I can only accept your life. Fellow Taoist, please rise. Yi Fei channeled a large amount of immortal energy into Gao Chang's body. Then, he suddenly bowed respectfully towards Gao Chang's corpse. Gao Chang's corpse immediately jumped up with hatred. Ah, Yi Fei, you dare to kill me? Fellow Taoist, why would I kill you? Have you forgotten that you agreed to be my slave? Killing you is actually fulfilling your wish. Yi Fei began to argue. This was a true ghost argument. What he said was not the language of a human, but the language of a dead person. Killing me is fulfilling my wish. Yi Fei, you're spouting nonsense. Give me back my life. Gao Chang roared. What came out of his mouth was actually a strange tone. Yi Fei simply sat down cross-legged and used an even louder voice to debate with Gao Chang. Gao Chang, on the other hand, was dancing with joy and letting out a hateful howl. Sometimes, he would sit on the ground and let out a maniacal laugh. That kind of laughter, coupled with the corpses all over the ground, really made one's scalp tingle. Even though this was the second time he had refined a corpse puppet, Yi Fei still felt his heart palpitate. He secretly thought that the martial arts of the Hall of Life and Death were not ordinary. If not for the fact that he really had no other choice, he definitely would not have used such an evil technique. He did not know if it was an illusion, but when he was communicating with the corpse puppet, Yi Fei faintly felt that there was a pair of eyes looking at him with interest through the corpse puppet. Yi Fei immediately thought of the strange scene when he had refined the corpse puppet last time. He also remembered that old voice. Fortunately, that voice did not appear this time. That strange gaze was more like an illusion. After a while, it mysteriously disappeared. In the end, Yi Fei, who was concentrating on refining the corpse puppet, could not remember what that feeling was. Because this was not the first time he had refined a corpse puppet, even though he was extremely repulsed by it, Yi Fei's powerful talent allowed him to complete the final step in half a day's time. When the night was dark and the wind was strong, a corpse puppet emitting a thick aura of death was already standing coldly beside Yi Fei. It then knelt down on one knee. Subordinate Gao Chang greets the fourth blood ancestor. Gao Chang, you're very good. You were my enemy when you were alive, and now you're my corpse puppet after you're dead. From now on, you are me, and I am still me. Let me ask you, how much do you know about the Black Lotus? Does the blood ancestor have a way to dissolve it? Yi Fei asked in a deep voice. Gao Chang replied without hesitation, I once heard the three blood ancestors discuss the Tao. They said that the Black Lotus is the symbol of the complete fusion of the demon blood. It is also the ultimate goal of the blood ancestors. As for how to dissolve it, I don't know. However, the research of the past blood ancestors is all in the Blood Demon Tower. Then where is the Blood Demon Tower? Yi Fei hastily asked. In the Blood Demon sect. Only the blood ancestors can enter that place. Others, including martial emperors, cannot enter, Gao Chang said coldly. Very good. Take me to the Blood Demon sect now. I want to enter the Blood Demon Tower, Yi Fei said excitedly. He finally saw the hope of dissolving the Black Lotus. Chapter 1254. The fourth blood ancestor, the Dark Night, was the favorite time for demonic beasts to hunt, but it was also the time when demons were least likely to appear. This reminded Yi Fei of the land of buried gods. The Dark Night in the land of buried gods was equally dangerous, and no one dared to approach it. In comparison, the Dark Night in the Dragon Head realm was much better. Similarly, demonic beasts were more reassuring than invisible monsters. Yi Fei was very cautious as he quickly approached the Blood Demon sect and carefully avoided the demonic beasts along the way. He was not afraid of these demonic beasts, but he did not want to fight with them. If this attracted the attention of the blood ancestor, then all his efforts would be in vain. Therefore, Yi Fei did not choose to fly. Every step he took on the ground was very careful. Halfway through, Yi Fei heard the angry roar of a demonic beast in the Dark Night. Then, a ball of blood light separated from the demonic beast's body and flew into the dark sky. That is the blood control technique of our blood demon sect. It can control the opponent's blood. For example, the blood ancestor can directly strip the opponent's blood out of the body and instantly turn the opponent into a dry corpse. Gao Chang explained in detail before Yi Fei could ask. Following his explanation, the demonic beasts in the distance became silent. Only a cold voice could be heard. Blood Hangman, ignore those demonic beasts. It is more important to rush to the spirit vein first. Haha, that kid is trapped in my cave residence. How can he fly away? There is still my array outside. As long as he breaks the array, I will sense it. Senior brothers, don't worry. That kid can't run away. Blood Hangman flew into the sky. In his hand was a demonic beast's fur that shone with a silver luster. This is the fur of the Silver Moon Beast. It is very popular with the ladies of the quasi-emperor families. One fur is worth millions of high-grade spirit stones. Blood Hangman, you are so lucky. Shui Yin and Shuelwan nodded, then shook their heads. However, although the fur is good, we need to be alive to spend it. From now on, hurry on with all your might. It is more important to solve the big problem first. Haha, if it weren't for this Silver Moon Beast, I wouldn't have stopped. Let's hurry on our way and try to control that brat before he notices us. Blood Hangman put on the Silver Moon Beast's fur and his entire body shone with silver light. The three of them rushed into the distant sky at an extremely fast speed. It was only then that Yi Fei emerged from his hiding spot. Gao Chang followed suit and coldly said, "Blood progenitor, you've lured the other three blood progenitors to the spirit vein. Now that the blood demon sect is empty, it's the best time for the blood progenitor to enter the blood demon tower." "That's right. Now that the blood ancestor has left, it's time for us to hurry on with our journey. Blackie, come out." Yi Fei reached out and grabbed the dragon turtle from the beast mark space. At this moment, the dragon turtle was still in the shape of a ball. Its belly was bulging so much that its shell was about to burst, and its limbs couldn't reach the ground. Yi Fei's face darkened. He then sat on the awkward dragon turtle with Gao Chang. Then, the dragon turtle slowly flew up and crazily moved in the direction of the blood demon sect. Its speed was like a black shooting star that streaked across the night sky. Of course, it would be better if this shooting star didn't burp. The dragon turtle's speed was extremely fast. The dragon turtle that was full had an explosive speed on the spot. It would take the middle stage Martial Emperor Blood Hangman, a full day to rush back to the blood demon sect from the spirit vein. As for the dragon turtle, it only took half a day to arrive outside the blood demon sect. At this moment, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Many of the blood demon sect's disciples were still in dreamland. However, the dragon turtle's burps were too loud, like thunder. The blood demon sect's disciples who were guarding the place were quickly alerted. "Who are you? How dare you trespass into our blood demon sect?" More than 10 guardians of the blood demon sect rushed over with their disciples. Yi Fei sat upright on the dragon turtle without moving. His face was cold and arrogant, just like many of the evil demons. Gao Chang's face turned cold. He jumped down from the dragon turtle and coldly scolded, "You don't even know me! All of you back off. This is none of your business. It's the Holy Sun. We're sorry, Holy Sun. We didn't know it was you." A few of the blood demon sect's guardians apologized profusely and looked curiously at Yi Fei. They were obviously very curious about Yi Fei's identity, but they didn't dare to ask. They could only retreat to the side and allow Yi Fei to enter the blood demon sect. When they saw that Gao Chang was actually walking behind Yi Fei, the blood demon sect's guardians were even more shocked. They secretly rejoiced that they hadn't asked. Even the Holy Sun had to curry favor with him. This person's identity wasn't simple. Along the way, the two of them encountered a few more checks. However, they were easily resolved with Gao Chang's help. Gao Chang relied on his identity as the Holy Sun to smoothly bring Yi Fei into the blood demon sect's core area, the blood demon space. Blood ancestor, this is the blood demon space. Normally, only disciples approved by the blood ancestor can enter this space to cultivate, Gao Chang explained to Yi Fei as they walked. Yi Fei looked at the blood demon space and felt the aura of many powerful demi-emperors. He nodded and said in a low voice, "It seems that there are many demi-emperors in the blood demon sect. It's average. My blood demon sect has a total of 53 demi-emperors. Only half of them are loyal to the blood ancestor. The rest were recruited or captured by the blood ancestor from the outside. Then, he used the blood demon curse to control them and make them work for the blood ancestor," Gao Chang said coldly. After Gao Chang's explanation, Yi Fei learned that in order to control the blood demon sect, the 3 blood ancestors had placed the blood demon curse in every disciple's body. This curse could only be lifted by the blood ancestor. Only those who were loyal to the blood ancestor or had made great contributions to the blood demon sect could lift the curse. For example, Gao Chang was able to lift the curse because he was the holy son of the blood demon sect and had the blood massacre as his master. Of course, most people in the blood demon sect would never be able to lift the curse and would be controlled by the blood ancestor for the rest of their lives. Stop. The blood demon tower is an important place. Aside from the blood ancestor, no one is allowed to enter. Gao Chang, who is this person? Why have you brought an outsider here? While Gao Chang was explaining, Yi Fei had already arrived in front of a blood-red demon pagoda. This demon pagoda was similar to the demon ceiling pagoda, but it was filled with a dense demonic aura. It seemed that the blood ancestors' ancestors had seen the demon ceiling pagoda of the Buddhist sects, so they had built this demon pagoda in the style of the demon ceiling pagoda. There were 10 demi-emperors in blood-red robes outside. They were responsible for guarding the place. When they saw Yi Fei enter, they looked unfriendly. They didn't care about Gao Chang, the holy son of the blood demon sect. Gao Chang said coldly, "Blood ancestor, these are the guards of the blood demon tower. They are absolutely loyal to the 3 blood ancestors. Aside from the blood ancestor, they don't care about anyone else." Gao Chang, are you crazy? How can you call an outsider the blood ancestor? The 10 demi-emperors guarding the tower were shocked. If it were anyone else, they would have killed them without hesitation. Gao Chang shouted coldly, "Listen up. This is the 4th blood ancestor. He is also the new junior brother of the 3 blood ancestors. Get out of the way." The 4th blood ancestor? Are you kidding? Aside from the orders of the 3 blood ancestors, no one else. Boom. Chapter 1255. Blood Demon Tower. Humph, how could it be fake? Master has ordered that the 4th blood ancestor can enter the Blood Demon Tower at will. You may leave. Whoever dares to resist will die from the curse. Gao Chang's voice turned sharp. Yi Fei still didn't say a word, but the demonic nature on his body became even more terrifying. He didn't even look at the half-emperors. He walked into the Blood Demon Tower step by step. Wherever he passed, the half-emperors couldn't help but kneel on the ground. They weren't afraid of Yi Fei. They were afraid of the demonic nature on Yi Fei's body. The blood ancestor. It can't be wrong. This is definitely the aura of the blood ancestor. I didn't expect the blood demon sect to have another blood ancestor. After sensing Yi Fei's demonic nature, the half-emperors no longer doubted Yi Fei's identity. They respectfully retreated. Gao Chang acted as a door guard and blocked the entrance to help Yi Fei deal with any possible obstacles. Boom. When Yi Fei walked into the Blood Demon Tower, he encountered a strange restriction. It wasn't until the restriction sensed the demonic nature that Yi Fei emitted that it slowly dispersed and no longer prevented Yi Fei from entering. Yi Fei was a little surprised. Then, he suddenly understood. Senior Brother Zhao is right. The demons are indeed suspicious. The 3 blood ancestors are obviously guilty. Not only did they send people to guard the Blood Demon Tower, but they also set up a restriction that only the blood ancestors can pass through. Through this restriction, Yi Fei also sensed the importance that the blood ancestors attached to the Blood Demon Tower. He was secretly excited. He hoped that he could find a way to dissolve the Black Lotus in the Blood Demon Tower. The Blood Demon Tower was divided into 3 levels. On the first level, there was a statue of the Blood Demon. Below the statue there were more than 50 other statues. Many of them looked similar to the blood hangman that he had seen before. These statues should be the blood ancestors of the past. They were ordered to rescue the blood demon, but they obeyed on the surface. They only focused on developing their own forces. Otherwise, given the scale of the blood demon sect, if they mobilized all of their forces, they might have a chance of rescuing the blood demon. However, the blood ancestors had done a good thing by doing so. Otherwise, with how ferocious the demon god was, it would definitely be a catastrophe for the human world once he escaped. Without paying too much attention to the first floor, Yi Fei walked up to the second floor. As soon as he walked in, Xiao Chao rushed out and threw himself onto a pile of rocks and started rolling around. Upon closer inspection, they were not rocks, but huge pieces of immortal crystals. There were more than 10,000 of them, which was equivalent to a small immortal crystal mine. As expected of a sect that has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. I didn't expect that the blood demon sect of the Dragon Head realm would be so rich that it's overflowing with oil, while the blood demon sect of the Central Plains is hated by everyone. Roar! Roar! Seeing that Xiao Chao had discovered a large number of immortal crystals, the dragon tortoise, who was burping from being full, became anxious. However, it had eaten too much, and its belly was now on the ground before its limbs. However, the dragon tortoise had its own way. Seeing that Xiao Chao was rolling around happily in the immortal crystals, the dragon tortoise simply rolled over. As soon as it reached a piece of immortal crystal, it could not wait to eat it. Yi Fei was speechless on the spot. He was already considering if he should starve the dragon tortoise for a few meals to make it lose weight. Squeak! Little grass rolled on top of the immortal crystals for a while. Suddenly, she seemed to have discovered some kind of treasure. She suddenly ran towards a corner. Yi Fei took a closer look. He was so shocked that he almost cried out. He had seen something. It was a huge ice arrow that was as thick as an elephant's leg. Frost arrow. It can't be so coincidental. Could this be the other half of Martial Emperor Han Bing's emperor weapon, the frost arrow? Yi Fei was pleasantly surprised when he saw the seal characters carved on the ice arrow. Xiao Chao was also struggling. He hugged the frost arrow and walked back to Yi Fei's side. After hugging it for a while, Xiao Chao's small hands turned red from the cold. There were even snowflakes floating in the air. Frost arrow. This is definitely the frost arrow. Yi Fei took the frost arrow from Xiao Chao and quickly took out the almost broken frost bow from his interspatial ring. Buzz! When the frost bow and the frost arrow met, they actually sensed each other and shook excitedly. However, the frost arrow shook violently. Due to the frost bow's self-destruction, it had lost a lot of its spiritual qi. After shaking a few times, it lost its strength and returned to silence. Even so, Yi Fei couldn't hide his joy at obtaining the frost arrow. After all, this was half of an emperor weapon. If he could repair the frost bow, even if he couldn't use it in the future, he could bring it back to the family Yi. The family Yi would have an emperor weapon and gain a strong foundation. That's strange. The blood demon sect has half of an emperor weapon. Why didn't they use it? Yi Fei held the frost arrow in puzzlement. He only came to his senses when he saw Xiao Chao blowing on his small hands that were red from the cold. It wasn't that the blood ancestor didn't want to use it, but that he couldn't. If the frost bow was the body of the sword, then the frost arrow was the blade. If the body of the sword could be used, then the blade would hurt the user before it could hurt the enemy. This was also why the blood demon sect didn't use the frost arrow when they discovered it. Looks like I have to repair the frost bow to use the frost arrow. However, I have to find Master Zhu to repair the frost bow. Thinking back to the time when he had repaired the frost bow, he couldn't bring himself to ask Master Zhu. No matter how thick-skinned he would immediately expose his identity and attract the revenge of the legalists. I wonder if the true Martial Sacred Academy has a weapon master. Yi Fei smiled bitterly. He had already betrayed the Sacred Academy, so there was no point in thinking about it. Xiao Chao saw that Yi Fei was in low spirits and immediately grabbed Yi Fei's hand to comfort him. She then pointed in another direction, indicating that Xiao Chao had found something good. Haha, Xiao Chao, you did well. Yi Fei composed himself and rubbed Xiao Chao's braids. Then, he walked with Xiao Chao in the direction where Xiao Chao had found the treasure. The dragon tortoise was burping as it tried its best to roll behind them. From time to time, it would eat some spiritual pills and spiritual herbs that they passed by. Yi Fei and Xiao Cao's faces twitched when they saw this. In the end, they couldn't be bothered with it. If it continued eating like this, it would be a miracle if the dragon tortoise didn't die from overeating. Of course, the biggest miracle was on the 3rd floor of the Blood Demon Tower. There was a huge pool of blood there. Countless demonic beast corpses were piled up on both sides of the pool, forming a terrifying mountain of corpses. This reminded Yi Fei of the scene in the north, where he saw the blood demon sect use the corpses of warriors to cultivate blood bodhis. Could there be a blood bodhis here too? No, that's not a blood bodhis. It's a black lotus. Yi Fei's eyes widened as he looked at the black lotus blooming in the middle of the pool of blood. But soon, he realized that something was wrong. He couldn't sense any spiritual herbs on the black lotus. In fact, the entire black lotus gave him a strange feeling. No, this isn't a real black lotus. It's an illusory one. But there's a black lotus here. What are the blood ancestors trying to do? Chapter 1256. The demonic pool. Needless to say, Yi Fei's luck was pretty good this time. He really found a few hidden cultivation rooms at the edge of the blood pool. These were probably the places where the blood ancestors usually cultivated. They cultivated in the blood demon tower and used the power of the blood pool to increase their strength. In these training rooms, Yi Fei found a total of 50 books. Some of them were several hundred pages thick, and some were only a few sheets of paper. But these books were more important than any other treasure. This was because they were the records of generations of blood demons researching the demon blood within their bodies. It will take at least half a month to finish reading all these books. Luckily, I have the undying sword soul, which can increase my comprehension without limit. Yi Fei didn't crave for in-depth reading, but he could read extensively. He specifically searched for information about the Black Lotus and the blood pool. This search allowed him to find a lot of crucial information. Half a day later, Yi Fei completely raised his head. His eyes flashed with shock and joy. My guess was right. These blood ancestors are indeed looking for a way to break the demonic nature. Strictly speaking, the black lotus in my body isn't the demonic nature, but the source of the plague. The ancient demon god, the blood demon, was even more sinister and cunning than Yi Fei had imagined. According to the records in the books, when the blood demon bestowed the blood ancestors with the demonic blood to help them form a special bloodline, he actually left a trick up his sleeve. He deliberately used an evil technique called the plague source on the blood demons. From Yi Fei's point of view, this sorcery was similar to the child and mother goo of the sorcery path. Among them, the blood ancestor was the source of the plague. They used the blood demon curse to plant the source of the plague on the disciples of the blood demon church in order to control them. Similarly, the blood demon could control the blood ancestor through the source of the plague. In order to remove the blood demon's curse, the blood ancestor had to do his best to rescue the blood demon. This was equivalent to becoming a tool for the blood demon to save himself. The first few blood ancestors had indeed worked hard for this. However, back then, the Heavenly Dragon Treasure Monastery still had living flesh Buddhas. Every blood ancestor that entered died. Later on, as the blood demon sect grew in strength, the blood ancestors' ambitions began to grow. They were no longer willing to rescue the blood demons. After all, if they rescued the blood demon, they would become the blood demon's tools. Who would be willing to become a servant, or even a tool that was inferior to a servant? Thus, the blood ancestors began to research how to solve the source of the plague. However, due to the influence of the blood demon curse, the lifespan of the blood ancestors was very short, only a mere 300 years. For 300 years, they had to cultivate and enjoy themselves. Then, after 300 years, the blood ancestors who were unable to save the blood devil would be corroded by the source of the plague. Their demonic nature would erupt, and they would go crazy and die. Therefore, many blood ancestors would leave a large portion of their essence blood for their descendants to continue researching during the last year of the curse's eruption. They would enter the Heavenly Dragon Treasure Monastery with the determination to die. They would pretend to rescue the blood demon, but in fact, they wanted to beg the blood demon to break the curse. However, the blood demon wasn't someone to be trifled with. When he realized that the blood ancestors weren't sincere in saving him, or that they didn't have the ability to save him, He killed all the blood ancestors that entered and refined them into bone demons. After reading to this point, Yi Fei didn't know why, but he had a faint suspicion that the blood demon wasn't counting on the blood ancestors to save him. Instead, he simply wanted to refine a large number of bone demons. This might be the blood demon's trump card to save himself. However, regardless of the reason, there was no news of the blood ancestors that had entered the ancient temple. The descendants of the blood ancestors outside were still dying one by one. Gradually, the blood ancestors outside lost all confidence in the blood demon. They no longer placed their hopes on the blood demon's magnanimity. Instead, they gathered all their manpower and resources to study how to break the demonic nature in their bodies. The incantation to suppress the demonic nature that Yi Fei had obtained from the Blood Massacre sect was the result of a genius from the Xie clan, the Blood Ancestor, who used many demonic secret techniques. However, this incantation could only temporarily suppress the demonic nature. It couldn't break the curse of the origin of plagues. Later on, this genius from the Xie clan got inspiration from somewhere and created the demonic pool in front of him. According to the research of that genius from the Xie clan, demonic beasts are mutated vicious beasts that have been infected with demonic qi. This is similar to the blood demon's origin of plagues. Therefore, he suggested using a large amount of demonic beast's blood to dilute the origin of plagues. As long as the blood is diluted to a certain extent, the origin of plagues might disappear on its own. Yi Fei stroked his chin. He fell into deep thought. He felt that the genius from the Xie clan had a certain degree of feasibility. After all, the origin of plagues was passed down through the bloodline from generation to generation. However, no matter how strong the bloodline was, it would only become weaker and weaker as it passed down through generations. There were even rumors that in ancient times, every human race had the bloodline of a demonic god. However, as the human race's population grew, the bloodline continued to disperse. As a result, there were only a few humans with special bloodlines. Most of the human race had become ordinary people. From this point, Yi Fei felt that the genius from the Xie clan's idea was feasible. The only thing that worried him was that although the demonic pool had been built, not a single blood ancestor had been able to successfully dissolve the demonic nature. Later on, the blood ancestors continued to research and found that in order to use the demonic pool, the demonic blood in their body had to reach the limit. In other words, they had to condense a black lotus. Perhaps this way they could completely dilute the origin of plagues. However, this was only the speculation of the blood ancestors. No blood ancestor had ever tried it. The strongest blood ancestor had only condensed an illusory black lotus in his blood. Then, before he died, he placed the black lotus in the demonic pool. This was so that future generations could continue to research it. Yi Fei was speechless about this. Using the demonic pool to dissolve the origin of plagues is only the speculation of the blood ancestors. No one has ever tried it before. I can't believe I've become the first guinea pig. However, if I use the demonic pool to try it, I still have a chance to dissolve the black lotus in my body. If I don't try it, I won't even have this chance. He laughed bitterly. He was extremely unwilling to be a guinea pig and become a guinea pig for the blood ancestors. However, other than this method, he had no other ideas. Forget it. So be it. I have the 8th Division Heavenly Dragon. Even if I fail in the end, I can suppress it in time. Yi Fei gritted his teeth. In the end, he decided to give it a try. He had a tough personality. Otherwise, when his Dantian was destroyed in Blackrock City, he wouldn't have sat under the waterfall for 3 years just to try to awaken the undying sword soul. Now, the demonic nature in his body had reached the point where he could turn into a demon at any time. It was a huge hidden danger to his cultivation. Even if there was a slim chance, he wouldn't give it up. However, he had already made up his mind. To be safe, Yi Fei asked Xiao Qiao and the dragon turtle to retreat to the side. He also told the dragon turtle that if the situation went wrong and it discovered that he couldn't control the demonic nature, the dragon turtle had to take Xiao Qiao and run as far away as possible. This caused Xiao Qiao and the dragon turtle to become worried and nervous. Haha, Xiao Qiao, don't worry. I'm just saying, what if? Isn't there still a 10,000 chance that I can successfully dissolve the demonic nature? Yi Fei joked. Chapter 1257. Fighting Demons with Demons. Yi Fei solemnly sat cross-legged on the black lotus in the demonic pool. Then, he took a deep breath, steeled himself, and stopped suppressing the black lotus in his body. Boom! A tidal wave of demonic nature surged into Yi Fei's mind like a broken river. Yi Fei immediately felt distracting thoughts in his mind. It was as if countless enemies had appeared in front of him, giving him the urge to kill. Not good, the Black Lotus's demonic nature has become stronger. The source of the plague is indeed powerful. I hope this demonic pool is really effective. With a trace of apprehension, Yi Fei began to cut his arm and drip his blood into the demonic pool. As his blood that contained the demonic nature entered the demonic pool, the entire blood pool began to boil like boiling water. Boiling blood bubbles began to emerge from the demonic pool. From these bubbles, Yi Fei could feel waves of berserk demonic nature. It felt as if the entire demonic pool had come alive and the blood pool was churning. It was like the mouth of a wild beast, crazily devouring the demonic nature that surged out from Yi Fei's wound. At this time, Yi Fei could clearly feel the distracting thoughts in his mind rapidly disappearing. His eyes also regained their clarity. This demonic pool is really effective. It can really dispel the demonic nature in my body. Yi Fei was pleasantly surprised. He understood that there was no lack of evil geniuses among the blood ancestors. They were actually able to think of using demonic beast blood to dilute the demonic nature and finally dispel the source of the plague. This could be considered fighting demons with demons. Boom, boom, boom. Within Yi Fei's body, the Black Lotus seemed to have a mind of its own. It began to struggle angrily. Waves of demonic nature crazily surged out, wanting to take control of Yi Fei's body. It wanted to make Yi Fei completely fall into the demonic path, and then leave the demonic pool. Yi Fei was in a good mood when he felt Black Lotus's reaction. Haha, so you're afraid of something too. Black Lotus, no matter what you are, I won't allow you to control me. Devil's Pool, suck it up. Yi Fei immediately activated all of his primordial spirit. The primordial energy in his body turned into shackles and entered his dantian, trapping the Black Lotus. The only thing that Yi Fei regretted was that the Undying Sword spirit was not interested in the Black Lotus. Otherwise, he would not have had to go through so much trouble. Under the suppression of the 8 primordial spirits, the Black Lotus finally calmed down completely. Even the entire Black Lotus gradually began to shrink as the demonic nature was drained away. However, in the eyes of Xiao Qiao and the dragon turtle, what they saw was a demon god whose demonic nature soared to the heavens. Bit by bit, he was slowly being torn out of Yi Fei's body by the blood of the demonic beasts in the demonic pool. The demonic god had 3 heads and 6 arms. It was none other than the blood demon that had been suppressed in the ancient temple. However, Xiao Qiao and the dragon turtle were shocked to see that the demonic god's appearance was exactly the same as Yi Fei's. My appearance, this demon god's curse, is truly strange. Could it be that the blood demon wants to turn me into another blood demon? Yi Fei also saw the demonic god being sucked out of his body by the devil's pool through his divine sense. He was very shocked. However, if he really did become the new blood demon, his demonic nature would erupt. Countless factions would come to kill him. The 4 sacred academies and the quasi-emperor clans would all make a move. That way, the blood demon would indirectly kill him and avenge him for blocking the heavenly tribulation. Furthermore, it was very likely that he would bring another calamity to the martial heaven continent. After realizing this, Yi Fei cursed the demon god for being despicable and cunning. The only thing he could do was to use all of his strength to slowly push the Black Lotus out of his body. During the entire process, the demon god Yi Fei, who was being pulled out of his body, constantly tried to resist. However, the suction force of the Devil's Pool was too strong. The Devil's Pool that Yi Fei was sitting in was like a huge magnet, crazily absorbing all the demonic nature. While Yi Fei was secretly happy, he was also secretly worried. I only have 1.5 days at most. After this time, the 3 blood ancestors will definitely realize that they have been tricked and will rush back. I have to dissolve the Black Lotus in my body before they do. Let's do it. Yi Fei hardened his heart and started to speed up the blood flow in his body. Drops of essence blood flowed like flowing water into the Devil's Pool. As the essence blood flowed out, Yi Fei's head started to feel dizzy. His primordial spirit also started to weaken. However, the weakest part was still the Black Lotus in his dantian. With Yi Fei's full suppression and the Devil's Pool crazily absorbing the demonic nature, the Black Lotus, no matter how strong and strange it was, started to shrink. Yi Fei had obviously underestimated the power of the Devil's Pool that the Shui clan had prepared. In just half a day, the Black Lotus in his dantian had completely disappeared. The huge demon god had also been completely pulled out of his body. The demon god roared furiously. It seemed to have an unparalleled hatred towards Yi Fei. Its 3 heads roared furiously and its 6 arms waved together. It wanted to tear Yi Fei apart. The more furious the demon god was, the more aggrieved the blood devil was in death. Originally, the blood devil was being suppressed well in the ancient temple. He even relied on the long lifespan of a demon god to kill all the flesh Buddhas in the heavenly dragon treasure temple. He even successfully refined over 50 bone devils. If the blood devil had continued to accumulate like this, it would not have been a problem for him to escape and regain his demon god's power. The bad thing was that Yi Fei was unlucky. Of all the things he could bring in, he just had to bring in a heavenly tribulation that struck the blood devil into ashes. Even in death, the blood devil could not forget this hatred. That was why he used the last of his strength to inject demon blood into Yi Fei's body. However, the blood devil did not expect that the blood ancestor that he had created would secretly create a devil's pool that could break the curse behind his back. Not only did he not curse Yi Fei to death, he even let Yi Fei use the devil's pool that the Shui clan had painstakingly researched to quickly dissolve the demonic nature in his body. If the blood devil and the Shui clan's ancestors knew about this, they would probably die of anger again. The 3 blood ancestors who had rushed to the spiritual vein were even more furious when they saw the corpses all over the ground. Fortunately, the array outside the cave was still there. That brat should not have escaped yet. The 3 blood ancestors comforted each other in self-deception. Then, they immediately removed the layers of array and rushed in angrily. The 3 blood ancestors did not find Yi Fei inside. Inside the cave, the ground was a mess. Dirt was dug up everywhere, and not a single trace of spiritual chi could be found in the entire spirit vein. Puff! When the blood ancestor saw this scene, he was so angry that his vision turned black. He spat out a mouthful of demon blood on the ground. It was very eye-catching. Shuiyin, the sect leader of the blood demon sect, grabbed the blood ancestor's neck fiercely and roared, "Blood ancestor, look at what you have done. Why did you let that brat in to cultivate? Can't you find another place to trap him? Do you know how important this spiritual vein is to us? This is not a spiritual vein, it is our lifeline." The sect leader of the martial royal sect, who was a few hundred years old, was so angry that tears flowed out of his eyes when he saw the spiritual vein that had been dug out. He was really heartbroken. The number of spiritual veins that were still intact in the dragon head world could be counted with 2 hands. The three of them had also relied on this spiritual vein to break through to the middle stage of the martial royal realm. Usually, the three of them treated this spiritual vein as their own son and treasured it very much. However, when Yi Fei came in, he dug out the spiritual vein in one breath. How could the three blood ancestors not be angry and heartbroken? Chapter 1258. An Unexpected Discovery. He was the brains of the Blood Demon Church after all. Although Shuel Wan was so angry that the blood all over his body was trembling, he quickly realized that they had fallen for Yi Fei's trick. The three blood ancestors were no longer trembling. Instead, the muscles on their faces were creaking in anger. Without another word, the three of them roared and cursed at the fastest speed they could muster in their lives. They rushed back to the blood demon sect like angry lions. However, even though the blood ancestors were fast, the demonic pool was even faster. After all, the demonic pool was the result of generations of blood ancestors' painstaking research. Their direction was correct, but they couldn't condense a black lotus in their bodies. Yi Fei had a black lotus, but he didn't have the correct direction. Now, both sides were learning from each other. Yi Fei didn't expect the demonic pool to dissolve the demonic aura so smoothly. After half a day, the black lotus in his body appeared outside his body and turned into a black lotus platform. Yi Fei sat cross-legged on the lotus platform. His expression was both excited and distressed. The blood ancestors' research is still too slow. This demonic pool can only dissolve the demonic aura of the black lotus, but it can't dissolve the black lotus itself. This is troublesome. Yi Fei tried to leave the devil transformation pool and ignore the black lotus that he was sitting on. However, before he could get up, the black lotus that had turned into a lotus throne actually turned into a stream of black demonic blood and returned to his dantian. Xiao Chao looked at Yi Fei in amazement, as if she had discovered a huge secret. She immediately told the dragon turtle that Yi Fei wasn't human, but a black lotus that had turned into a spirit. The dragon turtle thought so too. When Yi Fei wasn't paying attention, it wanted to bite the black lotus and taste it. Get lost! Yi Fei naturally kicked the dragon turtle aside in anger. Then, he reluctantly returned to the demonic pool and prepared to refine it again. However, the demonic pool didn't react this time. Firstly, the source of the plague in his body had completely merged with the blood pool. The entire blood pool was now the source of the plague. Secondly, it seemed that a huge amount of spirit chi was needed to activate the degenerate pool. Yi Fei had already activated it once. If he wanted to activate it again, he would have to first inject a large amount of spiritual energy into the demonic pool. With so much spiritual energy, Yi Fei couldn't bear to throw in all the spiritual stones he had. He rubbed his chin and thought for a while, then said unwillingly, "It's impossible for the devil's pool to be destroyed after just one activation. There might be other mechanisms that I haven't figured out yet. Xiao Chao, help me sense where the spiritual energy fluctuations are the strongest." He suspected that the blood progenitors must have hidden a reserve of spiritual energy here that they could use to activate the devil transformation pool. Xiao Chao also nodded seriously. He opened his heaven and earth spiritual eye and observed the changes in the surrounding spiritual energy. Soon, Xiao Chao was surprised to find that something was wrong. He quickly gestured to Yi Fei. Yi Fei was also very surprised. "Xiao Chao, what did you say? There are a lot of people under the devilization pool. Are they gathering spiritual energy for the devilization pool?" Xiao Chao nodded vigorously, indicating that he wasn't joking. Xiao Chao was also shocked when he discovered this. Yi Fei's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He had been refining the demonic nature in the devil transformation pool, but he hadn't felt anything strange. If the people inside suddenly attacked him, wouldn't he be dead? That's not right. If there really were people under the devil transformation pool, shouldn't they have immediately attacked or warned me when they discovered me? Why didn't they attack me? Why did they let me activate the devil transformation pool? There's something strange about this devil transformation pool. Yi Fei felt that something was very wrong. He immediately sent out a palm strike in the direction Xiao Chao was pointing at. The huge palm of true essence quickly split the devil transformation pool apart, revealing a huge blood-colored stone slab at the bottom. Yi Fei's eyes widened. His powerful telekinesis caused the blood-colored stone slab to float up with a boom, revealing a long staircase underneath. There's another world inside the devil transformation pool. Yi Fei was very surprised. He was also shocked by the blood ancestors' cunning. Who would have thought that they would hide another passage inside the devil transformation pool? If Xiao Chao hadn't been sensitive to spiritual qi, he definitely wouldn't have discovered this secret passage. Blackie, lead the way. Yi Fei ordered the dragon turtle. Since it dared to trick him, he had to teach it a lesson. The dragon turtle felt very wronged. It straightened its round body and was the first to roll in, accepting its fate. Yi Fei walked behind with Xiao Chao, vigilantly observing their surroundings. Xiao Chao suddenly became very agitated. She pointed ahead and babbled, telling Yi Fei that there were many people up ahead. Yi Fei couldn't help but quicken his steps. He quickly rushed to the end of the staircase. Then, he saw an extremely shocking scene. At the end of the staircase was a huge palace. Inside the palace there were stone pillars everywhere. Countless martial artists were tied to the pillars. There were martial sages and half-emperors among these martial artists. However, all of them looked haggard and their faces were haggard. The cruelest thing was that their bodies were pierced through by special chains. Opening his eye of thunder punishment, Yi Fei could clearly see that these chains had actually pierced through the martial artists' primordial spirits and were constantly absorbing their power. Following the direction of these chains, Yi Fei saw that above the palace, there were many huge blood pillars that connected the entire blood demon tower to the devil transformation pool. Only now did Yi Fei realize that the devil transformation pool had such a huge amount of spiritual qi and maintained the vitality of the demonic beast's blood. It didn't rely on arrays or spirit stones, but on the primordial spirits of these martial artists. It's too cruel, too cruel. When Yi Fei saw how the devil transformation pool was activated, he suddenly had the urge to vomit. Xiao Chao was so frightened that she closed her eyes. She grabbed the dragon turtle's tail and ran back into the beast mark space. Yi Fei finally understood why the third Dean had said those words when he had entered the dragon head realm. He had even repeatedly warned him not to be soft-hearted. It's not that the third Dean is biased against evil spirit. It's just that most evil spirits are devoid of conscience. They deserve to die, they deserve to be killed. The blood progenitor's methods have crossed the bottom line of humanity. A cold light flashed in Yi Fei's eyes. He suddenly regretted activating the devil transformation pool. Although he had successfully used the devil transformation pool to remove the curse of the origin of plagues, at the same time, his success had been built on the pain of thousands of martial artists. However, the good thing is that I can still remedy this. I will never allow such a cruel thing to happen in front of me. Yi Fei's eyes were cold. He directly sent his divine consciousness into the ears of these martial artists. Who are you? Why are you imprisoned here? Most of the martial sages lifted their heads and looked at Yi Fei with incomparable numbness. Many of the half-step sovereigns only moved their lips when they heard Yi Fei's voice. They couldn't say a word. Only the half-step sovereign closest to the stone pillar was barely able to maintain his consciousness. When he saw that it wasn't the blood progenitor who had come in, but Yi Fei, that person's stupefied expression suddenly surged with hope. Save me. We are all blood slaves captured by the blood progenitor. The blood progenitor captured us here and controlled our primordial spirit. He used us as living spirit stones for his cultivation and activated the blood pool above. Chapter 1259. Bewildering, Save Me. I'm from the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy. Save me, I'm from the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy. Divine Marshal, I'm from the Divine Marshal. Save. Hearing Yi Fei's spiritual sense, the scene fell silent for a while. Although most of the cultivators were still numb, there were still some strong cultivators who found a ray of light in the darkness. Their survival instincts made them quickly respond to Yi Fei's spiritual sense with difficulty. The cultivators' excited and weak voices could be heard everywhere. In the end, even the numb cultivators raised their heads with difficulty. A trace of hope appeared on their faces, but most of them were distressed. Yi Fei was also shocked when he heard these people respond to him. His heart was in turmoil. He originally thought that these people who were treated as living spirit stones were evil demons who opposed the blood demon sect. But he was wrong, very wrong. There were evil demons among them, as well as some disciples of the blood demon sect who had committed crimes. However, most of them were disciples of the true Martial Sacred Academy, the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy, the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy, and even the strongest Divine Martial Sacred Academy. Some of their disciples had been captured and turned into blood slaves. They had become living spirit stones for the blood ancestors to activate the devil pool. Yi Fei quickly walked in front of a disciple who claimed to be from the true Martial Sacred Courtyard and cut off the chains on his body. When Yi Fei was about to tear off the chains on his primordial spirit, the mournful scream of the true Martial Sacred Courtyard made him hesitate again. Piercing the chain into the primordial spirit was no different from torturing a living person. If he pulled the chain out again, it would undoubtedly be torturing him. Yi Fei immediately hesitated, not knowing if he should continue. The disciple from the true Martial Sacred Academy roared savagely, "Continue, continue! I'm not afraid of pain. I'd rather die in pain than be treated as a living spirit stone and live a life worse than death. I'm worse than an animal." Hearing this, Yi Fei's heart trembled. Without hesitation, he pulled out the chain that pierced his soul. The disciple immediately screamed, his body twitching in pain, but he had a relieved smile on his face. "Finally, I'm free. Benefactor, don't worry about me. Go and save them. I still have many junior brothers." He was in so much pain, but he was still thinking about his other fellow apprentices. This person could be considered a loyal and honest person. Yi Fei nodded secretly. After all, he was once from the real Martial Sacred Academy. Thus, he decided on something. He suddenly took out a large number of spirit stones and handed them over. "Benefactor, you..." The disciple froze. He wanted Yi. He was already extremely grateful that Yi Fei had risked his life to save him, so how could he ask for spirit stones? "Don't call me benefactor. Also, I'm from the true Martial Sacred Academy too." Yi Fei threw down the spirit stones and hurried to save another person. Of course, he saved all the disciples from the true Martial Sacred Academy first, then the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy, then the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy, then the ordinary demons, and the blood demon sect disciples who had made mistakes. Finally, he went to help the disciples from the Divine Martial Sacred Academy. Even so, the disciples of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy were so moved that they cried and kept thanking Yi Fei. Perhaps they were like the other disciples of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy, high and mighty, looking down on the disciples of the other academies. However, ever since they were reduced to blood thralls and lived a life that was neither human nor ghost, their edges and sharpness had been ground away. "Junior brother Yi, I really have to thank you this time. If it wasn't for you, our lives would have been completely finished. By the way, my name is Gong Ji. I graduated from the class 178. Junior brother, which class are you from?" Gong Ji walked over and introduced himself. Yi Fei didn't want to explain too much and didn't have time. He directly asked the question he was most concerned about. Senior brother Gongji, how did you become blood slaves? Gongji smiled bitterly, but he still quickly explained his story to Yi Fei. After listening to the explanation, Yi Fei learned that the disciples of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy were divided into batches. Every batch of disciples cultivated in the Divine Martial Sacred Academy for 100 years. If they couldn't break through to the Martial Emperor realm within 100 years, apart from the Tian stage disciples, they could choose to stay in the academy and become teachers. The other disciples would be forced to graduate and enter the wider world of cultivation. In the end, most of these disciples would lose the confidence to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. They would be disheartened and go back to their hometown to get married and have children. Then, they would send their children to the Divine Martial Sacred Academy to continue their studies. However, there were also some arrogant senior disciples who were unwilling to spend their lives in this way. After graduation, they still dreamed of breaking through to the Martial Emperor realm and continuing to climb to the peak of martial arts. Gongji was one of them. He was once the best among the Tian stage disciples. Although he didn't have the strength, he still participated in the Tian stage assessment. After graduation, Gongji still dreamed of breaking through to the Martial Emperor realm. He invited several of his friends to train together in the world of cultivation and look for opportunities to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. However, Gongji was very unlucky. As soon as he entered the Dragon Head realm, he was besieged by evil demons. Several of his friends with him were all killed in battle. Because Gongji had a special low-level bloodline, he was captured by the Blood Ancestor and brought back to the Blood Demon sect. In this way, I became a living spiritual stone for the Blood Ancestor to cultivate. They treated us as blood slaves and forced us to absorb spiritual qi day and night. Then, they used our spiritual qi to improve their strength. Before I came in, there was a Tian stage disciple named Cui Yongxian. He was used as a material for cultivating evil arts by the Blood Ancestor. His demonic nature broke out and he went crazy and died. Gongji continued. But after hearing his words, Yi Fei was so shocked that he almost jumped up. Cui Yongxian? How could it be Cui Yongxian? That guy was clearly alive and was a spy planted by the legalists in the Sacred Academy. How could he have died more than 10 years ago? Senior brother Gong, are you sure that the person who died was really called Cui Yongxian? Yi Fei asked in a deep voice. Of course. When I was first captured, I was still conscious. Right, I also heard him beg for mercy before he died. He said that his name wasn't Cui Yongxian, but Fa Yongxian. He was a member of the legalists. If the Blood Ancestor killed him, the legalists would definitely destroy the Blood Ancestor. But the Blood Ancestor didn't believe it at all. In fact, I didn't believe it either. Gongji shook his head and said. He only thought that Cui Yongxian was talking nonsense to save his life. Yi Fei knew that Cui Yongxian wasn't talking nonsense. His real name was Fa Yongxian, and he was a spy of the legalists. This was what Fa Yihai had told him personally. It couldn't be fake. There's a big problem with this Cui Yongxian. The real Cui Yongxian died long ago. Who is the Cui Yongxian from the real Martial Sacred Institute? What method did he use to fool the martial emperors of the Sacred Institute and gain the trust of the legalists to believe that he's Fa Yongxian? Yi Fei's heart was heavy. He vaguely felt like he was involved in a huge whirlpool. Then, he asked Gongji a few more questions and finally confirmed that he wasn't lying. His heart was even heavier. At the same time, he solemnly warned him, Senior brother Gongji, when you return to the real Martial Sacred Institute, don't mention Cui Yongxian again. Junior brother Yi, in our current situation, can we still go back? I don't know how you sneaked in, but if you save us, you'll definitely anger the Blood Ancestor. The Blood Ancestor used us as spiritual stones. He has already cultivated to the middle stage of the Martial Emperor realm. You're definitely no match for him. Gong Ji smiled bitterly. He didn't care about Yi Fei's words. At the same time, a look of determination appeared on his face. He stood up and shouted loudly, "Everyone, regardless of whether we used to be friends or enemies, we'd rather die than become blood slaves. If you have the guts, rush out and fight the blood ancestor." "Yes, fight. The blood ancestor is heartless. Even if we die, we'll take a bite out of him. Young Master Yi, we don't ask for anything else. We just want you to bring the news of our deaths back to our families and the Four Sacred Institute. Let the martial emperors and quasi-emperors of the Four Sacred Institutes avenge us." The disciples of the Four Sacred Institutes all knelt down and kowtowed to Yi Fei. Chapter 1260. Attack. The Blood Demon Tower resounded with the angry roars of hundreds of martial practitioners. This was only a small portion of the blood thralls. Before Yi Fei arrived, a large number of blood thralls had died tragically here. The demonic pool started cultivating 500 years ago. That's when the term blood thrall began to appear. As for Gong Ji and the others, they were all captured in the last 20 years or so. The most recent one to survive had been trapped here for more than 30 years, and he was the evil demon sect master of a small sect that had been destroyed by the Blood Demon Church. From this, it could be seen how many warriors had been reduced to blood slaves and turned into dried bones behind the glory of the demonic pool. The demonic transformation pool that I opened was built on the corpses of tens of thousands of ancient martial art practitioners. They did not die because of me, but I used the demonic transformation pool to dissolve the demonic nature in my body. I cannot help the dead ancient martial art practitioners, but I must let the living ancient martial art practitioners leave the Blood Demon Church and change the fate of their blood slaves. He didn't do this out of kindness, but because he didn't want to let himself down. Similarly, if he could protect the disciples of the Four Sacred Courts and leave, it would be immensely beneficial to him. Thinking of this, Yi Fei no longer hesitated. He waved his hand and stopped everyone's clamor. His voice was very low but very firm. "Everyone, don't worry. Although it was an accident that I saved you, since I have saved you, I will save you until the end. I will think of a way to send you out of the Blood Demon Church safely. As for whether you can escape from the Dragon Head Realm, that's your own business." He could help, but he wouldn't protect them like a nanny. That would be too strenuous and stupid. Helping them leave the Blood Demon sect was already the limit of what he could do. After all, there wasn't much time left for him. "Gao Chang, come in." Yi Fei spoke corpse language to Gao Chang through the Blood Demon Tower. This was a language that only corpse puppets could understand. It was effective within 1,000 miles. Hearing Yi Fei's order, Gao Chang walked into the Blood Demon Tower without hesitation and went to the 3rd floor. "Blood Progenitor, please give me your orders." "Blood Progenitor." Boom. Gong Ji and the others were all shocked. A few blood thralls from the Blood Demon sect also looked at Gao Chang with great astonishment. "It's the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun is powerful. Back then, he was the one who brought people to turn us into blood slaves. He destroyed our sects and destroyed our families." Many evil demon blood slaves recognized Gao Chang, and their eyes turned red. However, because of Yi Fei's status as the blood ancestor, they didn't dare to act rashly. Yi Fei looked coldly at Gao Chang. "You've captured blood thralls before?" Gao Chang nodded coldly. "Yes. Only the blood progenitor's most trusted subordinates can carry out such a mission. If you capture 10 blood thralls, you can break free from the blood devil's curse. If you capture 100, you can become the blood progenitor's disciple." "So you're saying that everyone in the Blood Demon sect who isn't cursed by the Blood Demon is one of the blood ancestors' trusted aides, and they've all committed such heinous crimes?" Yi Fei's gaze was somewhat cold. Yes. Gao Chang's gaze was even colder. Very good. Go out immediately and think of a way to gather these people. Also, tell the 10 half-emperors guarding outside to come in. I have something to say. A cold light flashed through Yi Fei's eyes. He waved his hand and had Gao Chang retreat. The surrounding blood thralls were completely silent. They looked at Yi Fei with fear and doubt in their eyes. However, there was still hope. The smart ones could tell that Yi Fei didn't just sneak into the blood demon sect. Junior brother Yi. Gongji watched Gao Chang leave and finally couldn't help but speak up. Yi Fei interrupted him and swept his gaze over everyone present. I know that you're all very confused. If you trust me, then don't ask anything. I promise that I'll let you leave this place alive. The disciples of the 4 sacred courts fell silent. However, the demons' faces were filled with hope. They shouted together, Young Master Yi, we trust you. We won't ask anything. As long as you let us live like humans, we're willing to pay any price. I don't want you to pay any price. I just want you to make me a promise. Yi Fei looked coldly at these demons. To be honest, if it weren't for the blood ancestors' cruel methods and the fact that he had coincidentally used the demonic pool and encountered this karma, he definitely wouldn't have gotten involved in this matter under normal circumstances. Remember, I saved your lives. I don't expect you to become good people. I only hope that in the future, the people you kill are people who deserve to be killed. The evil Tao is also a Tao. As long as you have a clear conscience and have a clear conscience, you can continue walking down this path. Yi Fei's words caused the demons to fall into a collective silence. Then, someone knelt down and loudly swore, followed by a second and a third. After experiencing such a tragic experience, even the most ruthless of people would be greatly moved. We also swear. Seeing Yi Fei's gaze turn to them, the disciples of the 4 sacred courts also prepared to swear. Compared to vows, I believe in actions more. I don't want your vows. I only want you to return to the sacred courts and tell the truth. Tell the deans of the 4 sacred courts that I saved you. Then, tell them one thing. What is it? Gongji asked. If others don't offend me, I won't offend them. If anyone offends me, I will definitely kill them. When they walked into the Blood Demon Tower, the expressions of the 10 half-emperors changed instantly. Originally, only the Blood Ancestor could enter the Blood Demon Tower, but now, there were hundreds of cultivators in ragged clothes. Many of them had very weak auras, but there were still some half-emperors who recognized them at a glance. How dare you? How did you blood slaves escape? 4th Blood Ancestor, what is the meaning of this? Without the orders of the 3 Blood Ancestors, not only did you barge into the Blood Demon Tower, but you also released all the blood slaves. Sensing that the situation was not right, a few half-emperors immediately turned around and wanted to run out of the Blood Demon Tower to tell the 3 Blood Ancestors about Yi Fei's actions and the escape of the blood slaves. However, just as they turned around, Gao Chang, who had followed closely behind them, raised his fist and suddenly smashed the head of a half-emperor. Attack! There was no need for Yi Fei to say anything. The crowd, who had accumulated endless resentment, madly rushed forward and drowned the half-emperors in an instant. Yi Fei did not attack. He just stood there and released a huge amount of demonic power. This demonic power belonged to the Black Lotus. The demonic pool had only dissolved the source of the plague, but it could not dissolve the demonic blood of the demon god. This demonic blood was still in Yi Fei's body, forming a terrifying demonic power. Yi Fei felt that this trip to the Blood Demon sect was a failure because he did not find a way to dissolve the Black Lotus. However, he also felt that he had succeeded because he had unexpectedly found a way to reconcile with the 4 sacred courtyard. As long as I take these people out and let them return to the 4 sacred courtyards, I don't believe that the 4 sacred courtyards will have the face to hunt me down. Of course, if there are really people who are shameless, then don't blame me for killing them. A cold light flashed in Yi Fei's eyes. Chapter 1261. Exterminate your sect. Exterminating 10 half-step emperors wasn't enough to quell their anger. Over 10 years of living a life worse than death had accumulated too much anger in their hearts. Shouts of extermination and extermination of the blood demon sect rose and fell one after another. However, Yi Fei knew that they were just lucky. If he hadn't used the devilish power of the Black Lotus to intimidate these half-step emperors, they wouldn't even have been able to kill the most common first-level martial saint blood demon sect disciples, let alone kill them. Senior apprentice brother Gongji, calm down. You've been tortured for so many years, and you're already at the end of your rope. If you fight recklessly now, you'll just be courting death. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I'll first cover you as you leave the blood demon sect. Once you've escaped from the sea of suffering and recovered your strength, it won't be too late to talk about revenge. Yi Fei's words were very sincere. His words calmed the excited crowd down again. Gong Ji smiled bitterly. Junior apprentice brother Yi, we're indeed too emotional. However, there are so many disciples of the blood demon sect. How are we going to get out? It's very simple. I'll use the identity of the blood ancestor to summon all the disciples and protectors of the blood demon sect to the blood demon tower. Then we'll stop them. At that time, the blood demon sect's defenses will be empty. With so many of you, you can definitely rush out in one go. Yi Fei said calmly. His words made the expressions of Gong Ji and the others change. Junior apprentice brother Yi, if you don't come with us, you'll have to block all the disciples of the blood demon sect by yourself. No, that's too dangerous. You'll be surrounded by the entire blood demon sect. Junior apprentice brother Yi, why can't you lead us out? Some disciples of the true martial sacred institution were very confused. I can lead you out, but in the end, many of you will die on the way out. Only if I block all the disciples of the blood demon sect by myself can you safely escape. Of course, I'm also doing this for my own selfish reasons. Yi Fei looked at the crowd calmly. The 3 sacred institutions have some misunderstandings about me. I'm taking the risk to save you because I want the 4 sacred institutions to see my attitude. The sacred institutions have betrayed me, but I won't betray them. Now hurry up and leave. Boom. Gong Ji took a deep breath and said, Junior brother Yi, we'll bring these words back to the academy. Also, no matter what, you're our junior brother. From now on, our lives are yours. With Gong Ji taking the lead, all the disciples of the true martial sacred courtyard bowed deeply to Yi Fei. Brother Yi, don't worry. We swear that no matter what misunderstanding you have with the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy, we will definitely tell the various teachers and headmaster about what happened today. The disciples of the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy also bowed deeply to Yi Fei. We are willing to return to the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy and do our best to help Yi Fei clarify the misunderstanding. Brother Yi, we won't thank you for saving our lives. We will wait for your return. The disciples of the Heavenly Book Sacred Academy also bowed deeply to Yi Fei. Only the disciples of the Divine Martial Sacred Academy had complicated expressions. But when they thought about how Yi Fei had taken such a huge risk to save them, and how he was going to face the entire blood demon sect alone, they couldn't help but show respect. Brother Yi is a true gentleman. You're righteous and willing to risk your life. Since ancient times, people with lofty ideals are nothing more than this. We're willing to do our best to resolve the misunderstanding between Brother Yi and our academy. And us too. Lord Yi is righteous and unparalleled. We swear that in the future, if we kill someone indiscriminately, we'll die a horrible death. The other demons swore again and bowed to Yi Fei. Then, everyone quickly left the range of the Blood Demon Tower and hid carefully, waiting for the moment when the Blood Demon sect's defenses were the weakest. Yi Fei looked at their backs indifferently. He didn't care if they were truly grateful or not. He had saved them just to express his attitude to the 4 sacred institutions. You better not force me. Clang! A loud bell rang in the Blood Demon sect, and Gao Chang's cold voice rang out. All disciples, protectors, and elders, come to the Blood Demon Tower immediately and pay respects to the fourth blood ancestor. If you don't come within 30 breaths, you'll be killed without mercy. The fourth blood ancestor? Is that true? How dare you? How dare you give us orders without the orders of the three blood ancestors? Let's go. Let's go and see how the new blood ancestor looks. Let's see if his hair is fully grown. The entire Blood Demon sect was shaken. The news of the fourth blood ancestor was too shocking, but no one dared to hesitate. After all, most of the disciples of the Blood Demon sect had the Blood Demon curse in their bodies, which meant that they couldn't disobey the blood ancestor's orders. The other confidants of the blood ancestor were very dissatisfied. They wanted to show Yi Fei who was in charge. The Saint Gao Chang had just secretly revealed to them that the fourth blood ancestor was going to put the curse on them again. This was related to their interests. The higher-ups of the Blood Demon sect, who were dissatisfied with Yi Fei, also rushed over angrily. They consciously gathered together and tried to intimidate Yi Fei with their great momentum. They didn't notice at all that when their gazes were all fixed on the Blood Demon Tower and Yi Fei. Under Gong Ji's lead, a large group of blood slaves secretly rushed to the entrance of the Blood Demon sect's small world, taking advantage of the gaps in the Blood Demon sect's defense. They rushed out almost without any obstruction. At the same time, all the disciples, protectors, and elders of the Blood Demon sect gathered at the Blood Demon Tower. They saw a young man in a purple-gold black robe standing outside the Blood Demon Tower. Many of the elders' faces became even more unsightly. 8th level martial saint? Have the three blood ancestors lost their minds? How can such a person be promoted to the fourth blood ancestor? The one who spoke was a vice sect leader. In the Blood Demon sect, the three blood ancestors took turns to be the sect leader. The half-step emperors were all vice sect leaders. They were the absolute confidants of the three blood ancestors. Not only did they have a lot of power, but they also had the blood demon curse removed. Therefore, they weren't particularly afraid of Yi Fei, the new blood ancestor. Especially when they saw that Yi Fei wasn't even a half-step emperor. These elders didn't even respect him on the surface. Fourth blood ancestor, why did you call us here? Also, without the three blood ancestors' orders, who allowed you to enter the Blood Demon Tower. This is a capital offense. Also, I heard that you want to let us have the Blood Demon curse again. Is this true? Boom. Another vice sect leader spoke. Following his voice, hundreds of Blood Demon sect protectors and elders stared at Yi Fei angrily. If it weren't for the fact that they didn't know the relationship between Yi Fei and the three blood ancestors, they would have attacked him. Gao Chang, who had retreated behind Yi Fei, immediately stared at this group of people with eyes full of death. How dare you? Whoever dares to question the decision of the fourth blood ancestor will die. Die. Gao Chang's words undoubtedly shocked the higher-ups of the Blood Demon sect. Then, they flew into a rage. Gao Chang, you are the disciple of the third blood ancestor and the holy son of our sect. Why are you siding with an outsider? Are you going to betray the three blood ancestors? Or are you going to betray the sect? Chapter 1262. One man annihilates a sect. What? Annihilate a sect? Isn't he the fourth blood ancestor? Why would he annihilate the Blood Demon sect? Boom. It was earth-shattering. Hearing Yi Fei's words, even the smartest vice hierarch felt like he was dreaming. Annihilating a sect all by himself? How arrogant and crazy was that? After recovering from their shock, the vice hierarchs laughed cruelly. They were worried that they wouldn't have a chance to take down the fourth blood ancestor, but Yi Fei had delivered the opportunity to them. More than 30 vice hierarchs exchanged glances, and a bad-tempered demon immediately rushed out. Kill. Traitors must die. I don't care if you're the blood ancestor or not. Xueqing, the adopted son of the second blood ancestor. His biggest hobby is to torture and kill the captives he captured. Gao Chang said coldly. Very well. This person's hands are stained with blood. He must be killed. Poof! Yi Fei raised his hand and pointed at Xueqing. A purple-gold sword light pierced through Xueqing's head. The vice-hierarchs who were laughing at him were terrified. However, before they could react, a loud bang echoed throughout the small world of the blood demon space. There were frightened shouts everywhere. Some people stumbled from afar. Something bad has happened. Some of the captives have escaped. They're shouting that they'd rather die than become blood slaves. The blood demon sect not only had disciples, but also servants. They were all blood slaves on the surface. They were treated poorly, but they could barely survive. They couldn't figure out why so many people would run out to rebel. Only the vice-hierarchs knew how cruel real blood slaves were. At the same time, they were a secret of the blood demon sect that could never be exposed. They were usually carefully hidden in the blood demon tower. Only the vice-hierarchs, who were absolutely loyal to the blood demon sect, knew about it. But now all the blood slaves had escaped. At this critical moment, Yi Fei forcibly used his identity as the blood ancestor to gather everyone who could fight in the blood demon tower. At this time, the higher-ups of the blood demon sect didn't understand what was going on. Traitors! Traitors! Gao Chang, the fourth blood ancestor, you two traitors. They must have released the blood thrall. Hurry up and inform the three blood ancestors. Everyone else, move out and kill all the escaped captives. Let's see who dares. Yi Fei roared furiously. His voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with boundless demonic might. Like a hurricane, it engulfed every disciple and enforcer of the blood demon sect. You have two choices. I can remove the blood demon curse, and you can leave the blood demon sect. Of course, you can also choose to perish together with the blood demon sect. Traitor, you shameless traitor! Don't listen to him. Everyone, attack together and kill this traitor. We can't let the news of the blood slaves spread. The half-emperors of the blood demon sect were all furious. The matter of the blood slaves was an absolute secret. Once the news spread, the entire Dragon Head realm would be shocked. The wrath of the four great sacred institutes would definitely destroy every single one of them. These half-martial emperors hated Yi Fei to the bone. Almost as soon as Yi Fei's voice fell, all the half-emperors present rushed over, wanting to kill Yi Fei instantly. A large group of blood demon sect disciples and enforcers also turned and ran, wanting to chase after the blood slaves who had escaped. In response, Yi Fei also made two moves. He activated the Taiji domain and opened the purple-golden Taiji. The bright Taiji domain immediately blocked all the attacks of these half-emperors. Invincible and invincible? How was this possible? The faces of the half-martial emperors were filled with great terror. They had initially thought that Yi Fei would be easy to deal with as he was only an 8th-layer martial sacred realm cultivator. However, it seemed like they had stumbled into an iron plate. Many blood demon sect disciples who were ready to make a move were so shocked that they forgot to move. Only a small number of loyal people still wanted to leave the blood demon tower and chase after the blood slaves who had escaped. However, a mouthful of dragon flames turned these people into ashes. Then, a huge tortoise that kept burping appeared. Its limbs could not reach the ground, but it still blocked all the evil devils who tried to leave the blood demon tower. Many evil devils suddenly realized that although this tortoise was so fat that it could not even stand, once this tortoise that was bigger than a mountain rolled, its destructive power would definitely be extremely terrifying. Rumble! The dragon tortoise only rolled once in the empty space of the blood demon tower. Hundreds of enforcers of the blood demon sect died under the huge tortoise mountain. Ah, some of you go and kill that dragon tortoise! A vice-sect leader roared furiously. He suddenly gave up on attacking Yi Fei, and wanted to kill the dragon tortoise. Kill. Yi Fei immediately fixed his eyes on that person. A purple golden fist light, like a star, smashed that vice sect leader into meat paste. However, Yi Fei's actions also gave the other vice sect leaders a chance. They looked at each other and launched their strongest attacks again. They charged at Yi Fei from all directions, charging endlessly at him. Kill him, and we can control that dragon tortoise. Many vice sect leaders' eyes were filled with madness. Do you think that it's useful to have more people? Today, I said that I will destroy your sect, and I will definitely do it. I will cleanse your sins with Taiji. Yi Fei held the spirit-devouring sword tightly. Suddenly, he slashed out a torrential sword river in front of him. The sword river then turned into a huge Taiji sword diagram. It filled the entire sky and mercilessly crushed down on the many half-emperors below. At this moment, Yi Fei was like a god, but also like a demon. Wherever the Taiji reached, it would kill. The half-emperors were killed mercilessly by the Taiji sword diagram with fear and indignation. There were also a few half-emperors who had ultimacies. They activated their ultimacies and madly burned their blood essence to escape in all directions. He is too strong. Let's go find the blood ancestors. As long as the 3 blood ancestors come, he will be dead. The blood ancestors will kill him. Roar! Before the half-emperor could finish his words, the entire sky was suddenly filled with the majestic roar of a dragon. The 8 notes of the heavenly dragon resounded through the sky. Even the dragon tortoise, which was rolling on the ground, could not help but stop when it heard the roar. Yi Fei used his powerful Buddhist telekinesis to simulate the first 8 notes of the 8 notes of the heavenly dragon. Instantly, the dozen half-emperors who had escaped were unable to move. At this moment, he struck out with his sword again. The Taiji in the sky disappeared and was replaced by the 8 notes of the void. In the void, sword fire spewed out like 8 volcanoes erupting. Void sword fire. Boom. The entire blood devil world was collapsing. The boundless sword fire ignited the space and continuously stabbed the last dozen vice sect leaders. Only a pile of charred bodies were left. With the Taiji domain, the heavenly dragon golden body, and his cultivation of the 8th layer martial sacred realm, Yi Fei was confident that he could fight against a mid-martial dominator realm opponent. How could a bunch of half-martial dominators escape from him? This is the last chance. Give up or perish together with the blood demon sect. In the sky full of sword fire, Yi Fei was like a demon god. The boundless demon might intimidated the many disciples of the blood demon sect below. He did not kill indiscriminately. He knew that many of them had been cursed by the blood devil and had no choice but to join the blood demon sect. These people were fundamentally different from the higher-ups of the blood demon sect. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.